Back to the Disaster SquadCast. I'm Paul, otherwise known as Disaster Squad. I am a Steam developer. I created the Cursed series, and if anybody's ever heard of Carl's Kooky Warehouse, probably not. I make retro-style games. I'm also Disaster Squad on Twitch. I'm trying to play through every single NES game that's ever been made, because I collect the real cards, so I play them on the real hardware. I am 120-something episodes through, and I'm also on YouTube. And with me today to, learn a little bit about him, I like to talk to people who I enjoy their channel or I enjoy their content, streamers, YouTubers, indie game devs. Today we have the No Swear Gamer. Why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit about what you do?
Yeah, I talk and people listen sometimes, and it's pretty cool. I like to talk about old video games, usually, sometimes old toys. It's the basic trope. You get old, you like to talk about things from your childhood.
Yep.
So I specialize in reviewing old video games. I've been doing it for like 8+ years. Really into the Atari stuff. I covered a lot of Atari stuff, 2600, 7800. I had an Atari 7800 growing up, which I'm guessing a lot of people don't even realize existed because the NES was so popular. And
Desert Falcon, that's what it makes me think of.
Yes, that you know your stuff then, because like that's an exclusive game pretty much to the Atari brand.
I grew up Atari too. I'm 40.
Oh, awesome. So yeah, we're in the same boat then, because I picked a 7800 instead of a Nintendo because of the price, because it was $20 cheaper to get the system and you could get the games a whole lot cheaper. And I don't regret it, because I was able to go to garage sales and pick up 2600 games.
Oh yeah, they're like nothing.
Yeah, back then it was like $1 maybe. I remember one sale. There was this guy, and this is in Michigan. I grew up in Michigan, and there's this guy at the sale, and he limited me. I don't know if my mom talked to him ahead of time, but he had a good selection, but they were $3 a piece. But I picked up Pitfall there, and Pitfall, is one of the greatest 2600 games of all time, and I was just thrilled.
I was never good enough at it to like map it out and finish it, but I've seen you do it.
Yeah, that's one of my proudest achievements in retro gaming, is actually because as a kid, like most of us, I didn't realize you could quote unquote beat the game. So for people who don't know Pitfall, you jump on vines and there's treasures throughout the jungle, but there's these underground passages. And what I didn't know as a kid is those underground passages would skip you ahead like 2 or 3 screens.
Yeah, they're like warps, kind of. They're more of like a 1-2 skip a few.
So, most Atari games back then were just simply high score. And so that's how I thought it was. And then, so the dawn of the internet, and now I'm doing the YouTube thing, and it's past the year 2000, and I find out you can actually beat the game. You can collect all the treasures and basically get a kill screen or a freeze screen.
Yeah, it kind of stops,
there's no
right?
ending. Yeah, the clock stops. Congratulations, you got everything you could get in the game. There's no reason to go on. And oh my goodness, I remember setting up, practicing this game. I'm like, I'm going to do this. This is my favorite game of all time.
Did you do it yourself? Like you mapped it out yourself?
I mapped it. I looked at maps online and came up with a path.
With like, I was going to say a pattern or
a way to do it, which it's like, that was a game where a lot of people always went one direction or the other. I was like a go left guy. Some people always just went to the right, but I discovered like, well, you have to start going right, and then you take the path and you do all these things. And for a while, I thought it was the only path. I think someone else found out there's another one. But I remember practicing that and being like, can I do it on my 3 lives and get all the treasures? And I think I finished, when I finally did it, what I did was I had a piece of paper in front of me that actually had the directions, like step 1, go
2
right
screens
this
left
screens.
or something like that.
Right.
Round.
Take the underground. Like I had it because I didn't have time to like look it up or look down. I had it right in front of me.
The time limit's pretty strict, isn't it?
Oh, when I beat it, I think I had 8 seconds or 4 seconds, something like that left. And I was just like, oh, thank God. And I was like, that was my greatest accomplishment at that.
That's one of those things
where
I
worked so hard.
When we're kids and we played Pitfall, we just kind of went right and just, you wouldn't even know if the screen wrapped. You just kept going.
Right.
We didn't know any better.
So yeah, to discover all those years later that you could actually beat the game, that was... And to actually do it, well, I am not the most skilled gamer out there. Some of these YouTubers, I stand in awe of their skills. They can speed run, they could go through. I am not, that's not who I am. But I can be tenacious when it comes to my games and just really try to get it down.
Yeah, trying again is another one of my strong points.
Yeah, and like for instance, I just beat for the first time in my life. I don't know if you've heard of this game before, but Solaris for the
Yeah,
2600.
I've always wanted to like get into like Star. I've played what's the one that's like that?
Star Raiders.
Well, that too, but the Intellivision one, Space Spartans. I played that a
Yes.
decent amount, but I've always, when I was a child, we had Star Raiders, never knew how to play it, and Solaris, like one of my buddies had, and we didn't really read the booklet, or we just thought it was really cool looking for an Atari game. Beating that one,
Yeah.
that's a big game, isn't it?
It is. It is surprisingly deep.
Yeah, for an Atari 2600 game.
For an Atari 2600 game, and incredibly difficult to beat. Because it's one of those games where when I beat it, and I told some people on my Discord server, I was like, "Hey, I beat it, I did it." They're like, "I didn't think it was possible."
Oh yeah.
It's like, no, you could do it. Now I had to do some. I don't know if you call them cheats or not, but a person found out like there's a way there, because Solaris, there's like a star map. If anyone knows what Star Raiders is, or Space Spartans, or Space Battle, there's a map that you have to traverse. And the thing is enemies and objects can block your path, right? But this game actually uses a second controller. If you push up the button on the second controller, you can bring up the map at any time, even when you're somewhere else, and like plot your course.
Yeah.
So they call it phasing. What you do is you go to where you want to go, and right when you arrive, you bring up the map, and you move your little cursor to like the barrier or whatever. And if you defeat the section you're on, when it's over, you'll appear on top of that barrier, able to go to the other side or to warp. And so even with that, it took me.
I'd call
so
it an
many
exploit,
hours.
not a cheat.
Well, I call it smart, right?
Yeah, just playing smart.
If Star Trek could go back in time or do whatever they did in one of those shows, then we can. If we discover you can do this, yeah, it was a way to. I don't think I could do it the other way, because I think it would take probably an hour, and I don't think I have the skills. But when I finally did it, I was like, wow, I can't believe I did it. It was like a crazy run. And what was hilarious is in this game is you can die running out of fuel. You're constantly using fuel. And I actually, when I arrived at the victory screen, I don't know if anyone on the planet's ever done this before, because it takes a special timing. I blew up my last guy right when I arrived. You actually see the men on the planet waving at you like your victory screen, and my ship blew up.
And it's just gone, like right then.
It's kind of like Link saving
You did that
Zelda.
one live, didn't you?
Yeah, no, I didn't do it live. I practiced it.
You
live.
recorded
I played
it,
for
though.
the first time, but I do have it recorded. I haven't posted it yet, but that'd be like Link saving Zelda and then dying
Dying of old age or like of cardiac arrest,
of a wound or something. Yeah, flesh wound. So let me ask you a question there, Paul, if you don't mind. So
of course.
This is our first time really chatting, because
I don't know you personally, and you've never heard of me, because nobody ever has. But
yeah, we're just a couple of older guys talking about old stuff. But I was curious, like, why me? Why did you say, hey,
like I said,
talk?
this whole thing, like, this is kind of a new show. I've been doing YouTube for like 13 years, not popular. I've gained a lot of subs in the past like 2 years. I got like 50,000 almost or something now. But
awesome.
In the past, just like 2 weeks or so, I want to talk to people whose work I enjoy, and you're one of the people whose work I enjoy. So I was like, well, I guess I'll try Twitter. So I just threw a note at you on Twitter and like, hey, you want to talk gaming? I like to pick people's brains. I like to just meet new people, and I'm a chatterbox. And you said you like to talk too, so that's good. So
yeah, I did. Did you know I did a podcast once?
No.
I did so there's a podcast out there called the Atari 2600 Game by Game podcast, which the host name is Ferg, and he's like, I'm going to go through every Atari 2600 game there is and dedicate an episode to a game or two. And he's still doing it, because there's a lot of those games.
I probably ran across your stuff like 5 years ago or so. Like a lot of your Starpath Atari things, your 7800 entire, like, while I was working, I would put on your playlist and just I learned a lot about 7800 during that, because you have all of them.
I did. I have the entire collection, and I did a podcast called I asked Ferg if I could have permission, because originally he was going to do all the Atari systems, then he was going to do 5200 and 7800 links and so on, and he's like, this is just too much for me. And one day I said, hey, would you mind if I made a podcast, and out of honor to you, I named it the Atari 7800 Game by Game podcast.
And just cover those, yeah.
And I covered those, and within a period of 2 years, I covered every official release on the system. I don't know how I did it to this day, because I was doing the YouTube thing, and I have a family and life, and all that stuff. I couldn't do that today. But yeah, I did the Atari 7800 game by game podcast. So if anyone wants to learn about that, where I'd take 2 games and usually each episode was like an hour or 2, and because
you devote quite a bit of time to each one.
Oh yeah, and not just that. So I tried to go over the history. That's one of my pet peeves as a YouTube creator is people who talk about stuff they have no idea what they're talking about, but they treat it like it's a proper review.
Like, at least look up the Wikipedia and like give a couple of facts about it or something,
or read the instructions.
Instruction manual. I can't even describe to you how much I hate when people are like, "Oh, Mylon's Secret Castle is awful because I don't know what to do." I'm like, you do know we have instruction booklets as children.
Take the time to learn the game if you're going. Like, it's one thing if you're just going to do like the other day. I occasionally live stream and I'll do first time playing a game, right? So like I did Solaris. It's the first time I literally sat down and gave the game more than like 3 minutes and actually tried to understand how to play it. It's one thing to say, okay, I'm trying this. It's frustrating. I don't know what I'm doing. And admit that you don't know what you're doing or, whatever. But it's another thing to say like, hey, today I'm going to review Solaris. This game makes no sense to me, but they never read the manual.
Yeah, that's not a review. That's a first impressions.
Right. So that's one of the things that would drive me nuts. So when I did the podcast, I do it in long form, but I had all these listeners who would actually, email me in or even record themselves talking and send it in. And that's what I liked. That's one reason it took so long is because it was like a conversation, even though it wasn't live.
But those are fun.
Talking to other people. Yeah, absolutely. I like conversations.
But yeah, like I think a lot of people take for granted how much games were married to their instruction booklets back in the early 80s.
Yeah, and I'm are you a fan of the Evercade at all?
I want to get one. I don't have one, but I'm actually kind of curious. I just saw earlier you posted the Intellivision collection earlier today, right?
Yeah, I posted the first Intellivision collection.
Yeah, and then you said there's a new Evercade coming. What's the deal with that?
So the Evercade, of course, they start out as a handheld unit, and then they made the VS, which is like a
TV unit,
a TV unit. Yeah, I was like, what's a console? It's a console. I'm like,
I do have an analog pocket coming, I guess, next year when they get one. I ordered it, but I'm on Group C.
Yeah, I've heard great things about that, but I don't have that. But basically their cartridges are basically compilations. Like they have an Atari cartridge with 20 Atari 2600 and 7800 games, and they have arcade collections, and they have some indie collections, and some like more modern homebrew style games. So what they're doing is they're discontinuing their handheld, which was the first thing, and they're introducing a new handheld that's going to have better battery life and a better screen.
So it's just like an upgrade.
It's an upgrade. It's kind of like, it's like Game Boy to Game Boy Color almost, except, they already had color.
It looked nice, from what I saw.
One of the things you can do is you can hold the thing vertically for some of the arcade games that had the vertical alignment.
Ooh, that's cool. A lot of good shooters can do that.
Yeah, and they announced that they're going to, they're one of the collections that are going to come out in the winter as well is a Toa Plan, if I said that right, with like Truxton and Flying Tigers and that kind of stuff. So that'll be right up.
Truxton will never not make me think of Classic Game Room.
Yeah. I watched a bit of that back. That was one of my influences. Is Classic.
It's a pretty good game, but it's not Truxton on the Vectrex. Like that's like every one of his reviews.
Yes.
Mark's such a lovable goof, though. Like he's a fun guy.
Yeah, it's a shame that it's kind of went by the wayside, but it was
things just YouTube changed too much, and it's the way it goes sometimes. So where did you start? Like when did you start? I mean, 2014, right? But what made you start your channel, your current channel?
So it's interesting because I was. So it's around 2014, 2013, and I have my first kid, and they're young, and my office at the time in our home, the computer was out like in the living space, right? Mm-hmm. And I would like to watch old retro video game reviews, like your Classic Game Rooms and what have you, but I was having trouble because it seemed like every once in a while, even a Classic game room might drop what would be considered a swear word. Basically a word I didn't want my little
and it's in the family area, yeah.
Right. It's like I wanted, and with YouTube, there's no ratings, right, for the most part. And it's not like, movies or whatever. And it was kind of getting frustrating. Since then, I have found other YouTubers who don't, need to use profanity. But first of all, that's my personality. I just don't use profanity. That's just not what I do. It's not that I don't care if other people do. It's just not my style. But I wanted to be able to enjoy retro gaming YouTube videos without worrying about what my kid would hear. And I was also at the time listening to a podcast called the Retro League Podcast, which is no longer with us. It was a great podcast. It was two hosts. Every week they'd each pick a game and talk about it. And I got involved in that a bit in their community. And they would do a giveaway every month. They would do a game of the month giveaway or whatever. So I told myself, if I ever won the giveaway, I would make that my first episode and I would start a YouTube show. And because I couldn't, it was one of those things, I can't find it, so I'll make one myself.
Yeah.
And so one month I won the giveaway. I picked Bubsy for the Sega Genesis because of its reputation. I thought this would be a fun one to start with. And that's how I started.
I rented that as a kid. I didn't like it very much.
I rented it too, and it was okay. I just remember like being enthralled because it was like everywhere. It was like on the cover of Electronic Gaming Monthly, EGM. That was my magazine. That was my reading material right there. So yeah, I remember renting it, not being so great, but that's the thing is I'll cover anything, good or bad. Sometimes the bad games make for the best reviews.
Oh yeah, that's because they're fun to write, or they're fun to talk about.
Yeah, absolutely.
But you also, I noticed you try to look for at least some of the good in most of the games that you've played. Yeah, I try.
Well, that's just my way of life. Is like I try to be honest with everything. On it, the good and the bad. And so much, especially nowadays, there's so many people that are either 100% negative about stuff or 100% positive, where they can't see anything. I don't want to talk politics, but take politics for an example.
Well, everybody joins their camp and just rah-rahs their camp, and that's it.
Exactly. If someone has a politician they root for, I see this on I've seen this on social media, Facebook and stuff with people. If it's their candidate, they will never acknowledge anything wrong with it, and the opposition is always pure evil. They will never recognize anything bad.
Well,
that drives me crazy.
That's the same mentality that goes, we'll get into this in a little bit with the Amico, because I know you have a lot of Amico conversations going on. That is, we've all seen it a million times. No, it's the sunken cost fallacy. We're just, this is what I've chosen, and I will not accept to be wrong. It's just the way it is. But yeah, I am curious about some of that stuff. I've listened to a lot of your Amico coverage, but like, let's see, you started your channel in 2014. God, I've been on this since I think 2006, and it took me 13 years to actually get anybody to follow me, pretty much. I had like 80 for 13 years, and then in 2020 I blew up a little bit. But what? Oh, speaking of like reviewing bad games, I'm sure there's a big difference also between a bad game and one that was just shoveled out the door with absolutely no thought whatsoever, like especially when you're dredging through the Atari slums. So like I bet like I mean, Tax Avoiders is the obvious one, but like doesn't it have nothing but Porky's graphics in it too?
Basically, and what's funny about that is I believe I have the current world record on it.
Yeah, because nobody wants to dare. No, I'm kidding.
Because I looked up the Twin Galaxies record, and at one time I did have the Twin Galaxies record officially. I was the world record holder. That was years ago, and so I eventually I don't do the Twin Galaxies thing anymore. I just don't have time.
Yeah.
And I said, you know what? It was around tax time. I for my Discord server, I made it the high score challenge, and I'm like, I'm going to see what I can do, and I actually not only beat my personal best, but the best recorded number up there. So yeah, I can toot my horn on that. So I've actually grown to appreciate that game a little bit. Obviously, if I've learned how to do it.
I forget which one actually dethroned it as the worst.
Oh my goodness! Let me get
I totally forget your list. What was it? Tax Avoiders was at the bottom for a while, but I think you and on one of them, I remember you're like, I think I hate this more.
Yeah. Well, let me see because I actually have my list.
Is it the diver, the shark one?
Let's see. Where is Tax Avoiders? So Tax Avoiders was way in episode 8. Since then, right now. So for those of your listeners who don't know, when I one of my hooks or unique things I do on my channel is after I review a game, I rank it against other games on the system. I have an ongoing ranking. So I'll actually say this is now number 17 out of 50 games.
And it's how much you enjoy it as a single player affair, correct?
Yeah, it's my own personal enjoyment, because in the end, games are based on not graphics and sounds and even controls. It's based on how much you enjoy it.
Yeah.
That's what I can enjoy a bad game. I like E.T., okay? I don't think E.T.'s a bad game for the 2600.
Oh, E.T.'s nowhere near the bottom.
So that's another one of my pet peeves is like when people say it's the worst game ever made. I'm like, let me show you a list.
Have you played much Atari? That's how you know it's just a bandwagoner and they've never actually... Because there is so many bad games on the Atari.
Yeah, because I'm looking at my list, and right now I've reviewed 254 Atari 2600 games. Okay, Tax Avoiders is now 231.
Okay, so it's nowhere near the bottom.
It's at, I think, one of the first games, Shark Attack. Shark Attack was the first one that went under it.
That's the one I remember dethroning it.
Yep, that's the one that took it out. But since then, I mean, right now my worst game is a game called Dishaster for the 2600.
Oh, yeah. You walk along as a little bear or something. You're like, and you just...
Well, you're a little girl, but the game is you're spinning plates on a pole.
On a sticks, right?
Like,
they're like...
On a... Yeah, it's like an old circus thing, right?
Yeah.
And it's just like... It's just it's just terrible.
I remember walking back and forth, and it's really hard to lose, and it actually gets really boring.
Right, but eventually it gets like you can't win. So it's just basically a button pushing simulator, right? Like there's not a lot of skill. But like Swordquest Fireworld for the 2600 is just about
that. Bad. What about did you review Snake with a bunch of S's at the beginning?
Snakes, I have not reviewed that one.
Snake, that is, I would say, the worst. That we had it growing up, and we could tell that was shovelware trash.
Yeah, I guarantee you it's one of those, not, but...
Data Age made it, which is weird because Data Age made Frankenstein, which is amazing. Frankenstein's Monsters, whatever.
That's a hidden gem. Yeah,
that's a great
hidden
game.
Gem on the system.
We had that too.
Go
ahead.
No, I was going to say, but any company, I mean, Atari had a stinker in SwordQuest Fireworld.
Oh, yeah.
Any company can have its share.
Well, here's the question, though. Games. I wonder if SwordQuest Fireworld was... Or no, that was the second one. That's right.
Yes.
I was going to say because Atari was pretty much blowing... No, that was Waterworld that got
And Waterworld is actually the best. I've reviewed all three of those SwordQuest games that were supposed to be for it. Waterworld's the best, in my opinion. It's actually the most... It's like they finally learned. But SwordQuest Fireworld just had some broken gameplay elements to it. And, of course, the whole SwordQuest theory or series just didn't make sense. And I think SwordQuest Fireworld... made even less sense because the whole point of the games was, you're supposed to get these clues that point you to a panel in a comic book, and I don't think the clues mattered in SwordQuest Fireworld because I think they forgot to put the clues in. So even if you beat the broken game, it couldn't help you.
With Fireworld, the thing that comes to mind always is like birds flying downwards at like a knife or a box. And you just
that's one of the games.
And that's all it is. Like a lot of and then there's one where you're just a box shooting at snakes that go back and forth or something like that, or bird. Birds, boxes, and snakes is all I think about with Fireworld.
But I will say this: I beat it. I actually put in the time to beat it. It's frustrating. It's not worth it, but I did it.
I saw you do Earthworld, or at least I skipped through it a bit to see like how you actually went through the whole Earthworld, didn't you?
Yep. I've beaten the entire series. Yeah. Yeah, it is tedious.
Waterworld, is that the one that's based off the 7 chakras?
Yes.
And then what was Fireworld? The Tree of Life?
I believe so.
And then Earthworld was the Zodiac Circle.
Yes. Yeah. So, yeah, spot on.
Was there ever a discussion of or does anybody know what Airworld was going to be based on?
I can't remember off the top of my head, but I think there was a discussion.
There must have been something.
They did have plans of, I think Todd Fry, who created the series, had plans about that, but
that would have been cool to see at least, like what ideas they had, if it ever got that far.
Yeah, that's Atari, the modern Atari has they have created this Atari XP line where they're making new cartridges for the 2600.
Yeah,
and they're publishing games that maybe hadn't been published before, and I think it would be the one thing I want to see is I want to see them create Airworld.
Just make it.
I would buy that. Like, they're re-releasing Adventure. I already own Adventure. They're releasing some games that appeared on the Atari flashbacks. So apparently, This is going to be, it was going to be about the I Ching, the Book of Changes, an ancient Chinese text.
Okay, interesting.
So it says the I Ching was a series of 64 hexagrams. So
Huh.
you could imagine how they might try to do something. So yeah, it's another one of these. Because I think Todd Fry, the whole point of the series was to achieve human enlightenment by going through all these various...
And win a ton of money, or gold.
Yeah,
It was what that...
yeah, yes.
Those all got sold, didn't they? Like, the guy who even won them just sold it. Like, the talisman or whatever. Yeah.
Each prize, each game was supposed to have a gold encrusted prize, like an amulet or a sword or whatever. I think the sword was the
Sword
grand
was for the
prize.
final thing.
Sword was for the final. So one guy sold it for cost, like meltdown cost.
Yeah.
They got like $10,000 or $15,000. One guy said he still had it. Last I heard, in a safety deposit box.
Huh.
And the Water World, they just got some checks. There wasn't really.
Yeah, I heard the last two are like in the guy who used to own Atari. They're like in his office.
That is the myth, and I
Might
do
be
believe
Jack
that's a
Tramiel
myth.
at this point.
It was Jack Tramiel. The myth was the sword hung over his fireplace, and from what I've heard, is he did have a sword over his fireplace, but it wasn't the Swordquest one, because it was like a family, like crest of arms or something. It was a family deal.
Yeah.
And the truth is when I don't probably sold it or melted it down to help pay off
they're
debts
probably
or
gone
whatever,
by now, which is sad.
I don't think they exist. I think when Atari's, I mean, you're about to sell the company or whatever, you liquidate stuff, right?
Yep.
So
And you're like, well, we have this talisman laying around. We should probably get rid of this and sell it.
yeah, exactly.
So what are your, since you grew up with Atari and stuff, what is your earliest gaming memory? Just the first game you can remember playing, besides like a Pong clone, because we all played those when we were babies too. But
Actually, I didn't play that. I found a Pong clone in a garage sale after I had my 7800. I didn't realize they existed. At the time, and I was like,
are you
"Oh, that's
older or
kinda
younger than
interesting."
me?
We're probably roughly the same age.
Okay,
but,
I was born in
but-
'82, so I don't know if you're older. Or younger.
So I'm actually a little bit older than you. So,
Okay.
but the thing was, I didn't, I wasn't aware of everything. It was just based on what my family had. My family wasn't, we were middle class, but we were probably lower middle class. We pinched pennies and stuff like that.
Yeah, same here.
And so my introduction to gaming that I remember is one day my dad, this would be in the early 80s. This is around the video game crash time, so maybe around like 83, 84.
Uh-huh.
My dad brought home with him an Odyssey 2, which my uncle had. And I remember playing that when we visited summer vacations, and he brought it over to a cottage we were staying at. So that was the first system. So I have fond memories waking up early before school and playing Pickaxe Pete.
Oh, nice.
That was an Alien Invaders Plus. Those were some of my favorite games. So that's some of my earliest memories. And I remember the kids down the street had an Atari 2600, and I remember one Christmas they got E.T. And I remember being blown away by it.
Yeah, I mean, it looked
that's
nice.
really cool. It did. It's one of the
Compared
best
to a lot of
looking
Atari games,
its
you could
era.
like the humans were humans,
Yeah. It's got a lot going for it as far as technical stuff. For a game that was rushed, Howard Scott Warshaw did a really good job with it.
The guy's a genius. Like when you really know how the Atari is programmed too. I don't know if you know anything about it, but it is a miracle that any game exists on that machine. Because you have to program for each scan line before it hits there. You have to tell the game what to do. It's ridiculous.
I'm in awe of programmers, people who from nothing can make stuff happen. That is not my skill set. I just play the games.
That's what I do, but I use Game Maker, so I'm a hack. But I do create stuff from nothing.
But when you look at some of those Atari games, it's amazing what they got out of that little system.
Yeah, we had a 2600, and like I definitely remember one of my earliest memories about the Atari is being shocked by the AC adapter somehow when I was plugging it in. I remember it jiggled, and I couldn't let go, and then I threw it down, and I got scared of it after that.
Wow.
But I absolutely loved Yar's Revenge, like Stampede Adventure. We had everybody in the early '80s. Once you had an Atari, by the crash, games were like a couple of bucks.
Mm-hmm.
So everybody seemed to have a pretty decent collection. We had about 20 games, I want to say, by the time. And then in like '87 was an awesome Christmas because we got an NES and a Commodore 64 on the same Christmas somehow. I think like my grandparents got the one, but yeah, it was like we had 4 kids and no money, so I don't know how we got that. But that was a great Christmas. So yeah, up until about 87, I just had an Atari, and it was a great time.
Yep. Yeah, I went Atari. I went for my Odyssey 2. I bought a 7800. That would be post-crash. And then I became a Sega boy. I got a Genesis. Got the
I went from
converter.
NES to Genesis.
Yeah, so I was Sega for a while, and then after that, after the Genesis, I got a Saturn. I stuck through the Saturn, and then I kind of that's it's
not a heck of a lot of choices of like games to play on that.
No, there were some good games though.
Every system's got its great games, but I mean, in general, it's a little harder to find great stuff on the Saturn.
Yeah, I managed to get a good collection. I played a lot of Bust a Move 2 was great.
That's good.
But what else? I mean, the virtual games were good, like Virtual Fighter, Virtual Cop.
When I think of Saturn, I think of Clockwork Knight for some reason.
Yeah, that was like a launch game or close to it.
And Daytona.
Early platformer. Daytona Rolling Start.
Yep.
Yes. Yeah.
Those are like the games that come to mind when I think of the Saturn.
Yeah, Street Fighter Alpha 2. That was great on the Saturn. I played that a lot too.
What kind of stuff did you have on the Odyssey? You said you had the Odyssey 2?
Yeah, on the Odyssey.
What were your favorite Odyssey 2 games?
Well, here's the deal. First of all, with the Odyssey 2, this was at a time where like stores stopped carrying it. So I never saw games in the store. All I got, it was a used Odyssey 2. All I got was the games that came with it.
Oh, okay.
And so like I said, Alien Invaders Plus, Pickaxe Pete, those were the big ones. I think I had Out of This World Helicopter Rescue, which is like a 2-in-1 cartridge.
Yeah. There's a lot of 2 or 3-in-1 games on that system.
Yeah, where you like the helicopter, you have to rescue people. Like you go to one building, you send down this. I thought it was so cool as a kid. It's one of these games that haven't aged well. But you send down this little seat from your helicopter, like a lifeline, and and you have to hit them. You pick them up, you bring them over.
Is the background all green in that one? I'm picturing it right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
I believe it's green, and there's like just 2 buildings. There's a building you rescue them.
Very
from,
simple white helicopter.
Yeah, with a good helicopter sound. Actually really amazing. And I think computer golf. I think I played a bit of that. And Casey Munchkin. I forgot about Casey Munchkin.
I think I'm like 4 or 5 carts away. I haven't touched the Odyssey collecting in a while, but I think I'm like 5 carts away from having the whole set. But like I don't remember if I haven't checked. You know how the retro boom, it's getting a little expensive to like collect things anymore.
But a lot of the pre-crash stuff, Intellivision, Atari 2600, except for the extremely rare games, the Odyssey 2, very cheap to collect.
They haven't moved, have they?
Not much. I mean, just the really expensive games. So for Intellivision, Spiker is going to set you back a lot of money.
Like NES and beyond is where the most money is in right now.
That's because that's where the age is, and there's going to be a day when those people start to get older and lose interest and sadly die out. And then it's going to be PlayStation. PS1 will probably have a boom again.
It's
PS2.
already doing that. 64 and GameCube are very big right now. So those kids are now like 30, or getting there.
Well, then next will be the Wii. And, some people are going to be like, the Wii, well, to some people, that was their childhood.
It always happens when you're near 30. You start wanting to collect your old stuff.
Yeah.
Or like
and
mid-20s.
You got money. You got a little bit more money, but you don't have the time. If you're like me, I got a huge backlog. I have like all these games.
Well, my main collection right now is the NES. That's why I'm going and now of course, my collecting is getting a little slow. I've been collecting for the NES for years and years. I have 650 something right now games for it, and there's 770 I think. So I'm getting there, but the last 100 is like the most expensive ones. So I don't want to.
I'm having a similar experience because I foolishly decided about it half a year ago. The Genesis is nostalgic to me. I decided I want to collect all the black box games, the original Sega published games with the black box and the grid.
The stripies, the grid, the white grid on them.
Before they went to in my opinion, the worst red cardboard
those ugly
boxes.
red stripes.
I did, and I think they did clamshells for a while before the cardboard.
Yep.
They did red boxes. So I decided to get into that, and that's after the boom hit. And And thankfully, I've gotten some of the most expensive games, but like two of the games I have to get yet is Cheeky Boys, I think it's called.
I got that, but not in a case.
Yeah, and I actually have it loose, but not in the case.
Okay.
But the whole point of this collection is to have the box.
Box and
like
manual.
It doesn't have to be complete. So that's one, and Midnight Resistance, which if it's complete is like it's like $100 or so just for that one, and what was he? Flicky for some reason.
I've never played Flicky. I know
Flicky was a budget title when it came out. But now to get it in the box, it's going to be at least $50.
Doesn't it bother the crud out of you that like Genesis games had amazing, super protective cases, but then they all got thrown away because of secondhand sellers?
For some of them, yeah. I was always a kid that kept everything.
Oh, yeah.
And I know some kids, like I was a kid that when I got like, I was big into G.I. Joe. And I kept all my boxes. Like I cut out the flag points. I actually sent those in, but I kept the boxes. So when I later on I downsized and it's time to sell my collection. I'm not playing with them or displaying them. So and some of them I regret selling, but when about the same time I got into YouTube, I was selling my G.I. Joe collection, and thankfully those boxes, they like doubled the value.
Oh yeah,
of a lot of this stuff. But that's how I always was. I kept my stuff. So
I keep everything. I have a closet full of the boxes for all these systems and stuff. Just you never know.
Yeah,
but
I'm big into the boxes.
It's just like 90-something% of Genesis games are just loose because I feel like you give them to like I don't know, record resale places, game shops and stuff, and they just toss them or something.
Sometimes not anymore, but that was the case. That's why, I'm going to circle back to a topic. That's why I think, Evercade, I brought that up earlier.
Oh, yeah. I kind of got off subject.
I'm thinking of making a video on how the Evercade ended up beating out Atari and Intellivision. Because Atari came out with the VCS recently.
For some reason.
It has its amount of fans. And I actually ended up buying one when it went on fire sale. I didn't buy it from the fire sale, but I bought it from a scalper, which was still half off the price of what it was. Yeah. I wasn't going to buy it for $400.
No, it ain't worth that.
But the Evercade, if you would have told me 5 years ago, Blaze, who made this Atari handheld I reviewed that had poor emulation, it was not that good. But if you would tell me that Blaze is going to beat Intellivision and Atari, I would be like, really? But I think one of the reasons why they did was they gave two simple things that retro gamers tend to like. They gave a box. The games come in clamshells, and they come with a color instruction manual.
Yeah.
And I think retro gamers like the little things. They like the idea that I open a box, there's a physical game and a manual I can flip through.
The only thing the Evercade has going against it, because I was in this mindset too when I first saw one, it looks, just the very look of it, when you look at an Evercade, not the Versus, but maybe the Versus too, I don't remember what the Versus looks like. It looks like something you get off the shelf at Walmart or at like Walgreens. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, it does look cheaper.
It looks like a toy that just has like a bunch of games on it.
But I'm gonna say that, and I agree, I understand the look, and the look doesn't bother me, but it does. The portable doesn't feel the same like as a Game Boy SP. The Game Boy SP had some weight to it. It doesn't feel the same quality as that. It's still good quality. It's very light, very light. But here's the thing, is because of that, they brought the cost down.
Yeah.
And that made it appeal. And I think that's one of the reasons why they ended up beating Atari, because I would have got a VCS if it was half the price. But when they said it's going to be $400, I was like, no, I can't.
You might as well get anything else.
The Intellivision Amico, I was a fan of it when they said it was going to be no more than $180.
Yeah, I remember your coverage from the beginning.
Yeah. And then when they said, oh, yeah, it's going to be $250, I was like, why don't I just get a Switch then?
Yeah, you're really pushing it now.
So, and I got some flack for that, but I was like, there's people at that price break mean something. There's different money ranges, right? To some people, $100 is nothing. To other people, $100 is a lot of work.
Yeah, some people have to save for a while to get something like that.
So yeah, I think that's one of the reasons why this Evercade thing seems to be doing better. They found their niche. They made it cheap enough, and they gave boxes, and they gave manuals, and they games, and a good selection of games.
But like what I meant was like at a glance, just as a casual, if I saw it, I'd be like, oh, that looks like an At Games thing, and I kind of passed it by. But now that I know it's an actually like it's a worthwhile thing to have, I want one. And it's not that expensive either.
No, and I so far I've been happy with
how much are the games,
especially my VS. The games are $20 a pop.
Oh, that's and it comes with a clamshell case and an instruction book.
It comes with a clamshell case, and for the most part, it's just old games. Some of them, it's not like of course they don't have the money to get Nintendo or Sega.
No.
The big names. But they have like an Interplay cartridge, a Daddy East, and every cartridge has multiple games on it. So it's for someone like me who appreciates compilations. I like compilations a lot. And I appreciate that they did it legally, that they actually licensed these. So the money's going back into the gaming industry, one way or the other. And so I appreciate that because I'm like, some people like support the arts. I'm like, support the gaming arts, give money to these companies that are doing it the right way.
Well, the Evercade looks like a nice thing to like put by your nightstand next to your bed. It's like, I'm going to play a little arcade game before I go to sleep or something.
Exactly. And since it has like save states built in, it helps you beat some games you never would have beat as a kid. Like I went through and I beat Splatterhouse 2 for the Sega Genesis.
Oh, I used to love that. I love 2 and 3. 1 is a little but I love 2 and 3.
Yeah, and I think I don't know if I got through 3 or not, but those games
rough.
when I rented those games growing up, I couldn't beat them. They were just too hard.
Oh,
but
2 is like there's this boss you fight out in the rain. That's extremely rough. It's like a spider. Is that as far as like that's where I used to get stuck as a kid.
Yeah, I mean, all those bosses are kind of funky and weird, but and that was, as a kid, I had the weekend. I would rent a game and I could give it another go.
That was your weekend when you were a kid.
As an adult, I love when I can use save states because it saves me time. It's like, I already know I can beat levels 1 through 3. Let me start over. Some people are like, hey, that's cheating. You know what? However you enjoy the game, play it. You want to play it on the beginner with all the lives maxed out, go for it. You want to use the Game Genie and get unlimited lives, go for it. Whatever.
Yeah. Well, I've challenged myself though. My second YouTube channel is beat every NES game, and I'm doing it without Game Genie. I'm literally just streaming myself beating every NES game, and there's some really rough ones on there. So I'm trying to do it legit though.
Let me tell you about a unique item I have in my collection.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, what's some of the rare stuff you own?
So I don't know. I'll give you some of the rare stuff.
You have Waterworld, don't you?
Yes, I have Waterworld.
That's fairly rare.
It's rare. Some of the stuff when I review, I do sell it because that's how I keep the money coming in so I can buy something else rare. Okay, so I don't keep everything I review. I actually sell a lot of it just to get something. I try to get good deals. But one item I have that is really unique, it is this clear NES cartridge shell. And it actually has a slot on it where you put a cartridge into it. So it's like a cartridge you can put in a cartridge. Is it
in the top or on the edge?
I think it's on the edge. It's actually it actually gives you the ability to save a game.
I think I've heard of those. I forget what they're called. I've seen one for the SNES.
Yeah, and so I don't know what it's called either, and it's in a box, so I couldn't tell you. But I remember the cartridges. I think it was like translucent a little bit or foggy, where you could kind of see inside.
Yeah, that's weird. I've never seen one.
And I don't know if it would work today because it probably uses like a watch battery, and it would depend if that battery
you can replace
still. But yeah, I'm not that skilled. But
yeah, I do soldering and stuff like that, so I have no problem doing stuff like that.
So that's one of my rare things I got in my collection. Another rare thing, this to me is a me thing. Okay, one of my favorite memories growing up is going to Toys R Us. And
I used to love Toys R Us.
You go to Toys R Us, a video game island. They'd have these flip cards, and you'd look at the flip cards, and then you'd pull a ticket out, right? And
bring
you
it up
take
to
the
the
ticket
kiosk
to the cashier, and then you pay for it. They staple the receipt. You take it to what I call the Cave of Wonders, where some employee goes in. There's these stacks of new games and pulls out your game. So that's one of my favorite memories as a kid. So not only do I now have a decent collection of flip cards, they're made by a company called VidPro. I don't have a lot of the old ones that I really remember, like NES and Genesis. I do have some, but those are harder to find, and they can go for a bit of money. And what surprises me is I always thought those cards were just the front and back of the box, like cut out. and it's not. They're actually
No, they're
smaller
like they're
than the
printed
box.
separately, aren't they? Yeah.
Yeah, on like on a cardboard stock. They're kind of like a big trading card almost. But what I was able to get last year, and I was thrilled to get it, was I actually bought Afterburner for the Sega Master System. It came with the original ticket that came in the pouch.
Cool. Where it's just like the one with the UPC on it and everything. Bring it up to the front.
It says like $49.99.
Yeah.
And it's on white stock with I was like, you never see those anymore. And
I think I just saw somebody post a picture of an Earthbound one. They're like, boy, I wish I can go back and get a few of these or something like that.
Well, I saw that, and that was the card. That was the VidPro card.
Yeah,
I saw that because, but yeah, to actually have that piece of paper, because how many people, they gave it to the person and the cashier took it, or they just threw it away.
They would
with
probably
the
toss
receipt.
it.
So I just think it's so cool when you get like stuff with the original price tags on it or something like that. Like on my wall right now, this is just my Toys R Us thing.
Yeah.
I have two things on my wall dedicated to Toys R Us. One is I have this silver box that just says software with like this grid background, because when they didn't have the box, maybe it was a return or whatever, they would put them in these generic boxes.
Oh yeah,
and
to put them back away or something.
And they would write the name of the system and the game name, and that's how you could buy it. So I have one of those, and then I have an Atari Lynx game, Crystal Mines 2, and it has the Toys R Us yellow sticker with the blue border where it says original price $39.99, clearance price $9.90. And
I actually love when you get like a used game and you have a weird sticker on, or like from eBay, and you get a weird like Zellers, from like 1980 whatever, yes. And it's still got the price on it. It's like, oh, this was only $6 back then because it was going on clearance. That's kind of cool, like Hills, like old stores that don't exist anymore.
I will say my other pet peeve though is when sellers leave the Goodwill or Salvation Army sticker on it.
Yeah, it's like, come
and
on.
sell it like I'm like, just take or garage sale. I like just recently I was looking at someone selling a Sega Genesis game that's like a $50 game, but still had that little circle $2 on the green background.
At least don't let me know how little you paid for it.
Like you could take that off. That off. Leave the original one, not the where you picked it up. I don't care if people find it and sell it. Okay, I have no grudge against them, but it's just tacky.
I also used to like not just the flip cards from Toys R Us, but like Kmart, where you would they would have the plastic things that would like the actual boxes would be in it, and you could flip them back and forth and look at the front and the back of the box. Remember those? Yeah,
I have some of those too.
Those were cool. I used to like those.
Those were like the first generation of them.
Yeah. Let me see if I got. Oh, here's something right here on Discord. 1.9 megabytes. Come on. But I'm sending a picture of like one of the corners of my game room in the basement, so you can see what I clutter myself with. you are like 20 levels above me, because I just have this small office, and my collection's so large, like most of it's in boxes. I wish I had the space. I bought my house and made sure there was just a basement where I could just do whatever. So I have like 20, all the systems all hooked up at once to these TVs and stuff. But I mean, I have a 16-year-old daughter, so I have like, it's just me and her. So she lives, she has a room upstairs. So I got all this room to just do whatever I want with. So it's all good.
Yeah. We're a bigger family than that. So humans are taking up my gaming space, but that's okay.
I stopped with one kid. A lot of people love to have many, but I just stopped with the one. But I'd probably be broke if I had more. It's I have a very disgusting collection to some people. They're like, why do you have this much junk? I'm like, I love it.
Yes.
And like I have like the speak and spells and things on the shelves there, if you can see that. There's just all kinds of light bright.
So let me know if you beat this yet. You probably have, but one of my favorite hidden gems on the NES is G.I. Joe.
No, I haven't. There's two of them. There's the Atlantis Factor, and then there's G.I. Joe. I don't have either one yet, actually.
You don't?
No, they're a little pricey. Like they're actually, I bought every game that's below like $40 so far. So the last 100 is 50 and up.
Because let me see, because G.I. Joe, let's see, yeah, it's $90 now.
Yeah, they're up there. 50. So I'm working my way up to those, but I know I think regular G.I. Joe is like considered much better. The Atlantis Factor's not quite so good, but G.I. Joe itself is, I've heard, is very good.
Yes, that is one of my favorite games on the system. Not just because I'm a Joe fan, but because of how good. It's a really good game.
Oh
It's
yeah,
one of
you
my
know what's
favorite
funny?
games
Like
on the system.
Jackal could have been called GI Joe and done even better.
So let's see. Yeah, let's see. I reviewed it 3 years ago, so I want to see what the price was in 2019. In
Probably a
2019,
lot cheaper than now. Probably like $30, 20.
it started 2019 and $43. Let's
Yeah,
see.
so even back
2020,
then,
it
before
went up to
COVID, it was
50.
pretty cheap or pretty expensive.
Yeah, it's actually gone down a bit. It was over $100, but that is a really good. That is a really good. That is a really good game. I recommend you put that on your.
I
to-get
definitely,
list.
I'm going to, trust me. Someday I'm gonna get them all. Oh, by the way, I'm not buying ridiculous things like the
World Championship.
Yeah,
card?
no, because that's not available to the public. I'm buying every game that we as Americans could have bought at the store. So no Famicom games. No, that's what I consider a complete collection.
Yeah, I did that with the Atari 7800, and I do it because I want to cover everything on my show, even though
Yes.
time is limited and I can't. I try to do that, and I did review every single 7800 game.
Yeah,
And
there's
I
what?
did that.
How many of those are there? 70?
There's it's somewhere in that ballpark, and I should know better, but I forget the numbers. I have man brain. I forget things from time to time. But Magnavox Odyssey 2, I ended up getting every game for that. I just finally got my last one, which was Wall Street, which is like a box board game.
I feel like there's only like 30 or 40 carts for that system, right?
Yeah, they're about roughly 40, I want to say. And then I also have every game for the Intellivision, but I cheated a little on Spiker. because
Got
it's such
a
a
recast or something of it.
Blue
Repro?
Sky Rangers, who are officially part of the Intellivision brand, republished it with a box that's slightly different than the original. And the carts, it's still the same game, but it's a modern presentation. They came out with it like a year ago, and it was like
Yeah.
$60 for a brand new.
Well,
and I bought it that way.
I
So
believe
I-
in repros if it's something that you would not waste that much money on.
Yeah. I mean, I especially if it's official, like
Yeah.
that one is. Like, I'm all about, like, I also bought the Mega Man Wily Wars from Limited Run for the
Oh,
Sega
yeah, yeah.
Genesis.
Well,
so I got
my
that as well.
Intellivision collection is quite small. In that picture I sent, like there's a skinny shelf with a little Metroid on top of it between the Atari
Mm-hmm.
shelf and the NES shelf. I think 2 of those shelves are my Intellivision collection. Maybe even just the top and the second one. But yeah, not very big. And then my Odyssey 2 collection's in the middle of that somewhere.
Yeah, those are so easy to collect for.
Oh yeah.
You
Is there
know.
any systems doing the show that you gained a tremendous more respect for?
Is there? Well, honestly, I will say that the supercharger. I'll say that. Okay, the supercharger, which I didn't even know existed, which is an add-on for the 2600, which allowed you to originally play games off cassette. I thought that was a really cool thing. I think I think every system, honestly, I've grown greater appreciation because I've discovered games I didn't know about before. So whether it is the Intellivision, let me look at my list of rankings for the Intellivision.
For me, it's ColecoVision. I never played it as a kid, and the games are so good on that.
So here's my shame. I haven't played a ColecoVision ever
Oh, really?
to this day, but I have a used one I bought in a lot that was like untested. I haven't even tested it yet, just because my to-do list is so huge.
It's got some incredible
So-
arcade games on there that
but
aren't
I-
anywhere else.
I do want. Well, I played the Flashback, but I mean like a real
Oh, yeah.
ColecoVision. I haven't played, but yeah, like okay, Intellivision, Tower of Doom and Thunder Castle, games I didn't even know existed.
Oh, Tower
are
of Doom's great.
amazing. They're amazing. When you get Dreadnought Factor, didn't even know it existed.
I have
It's a
Dreadnought
great
Factor
game.
for 52. Or no, I have it for the Intellivision. That's a great game.
Yeah, that's a great game. Treasure of Tarman. My cousin had it. I had no idea what I was doing, but once I dug into it, I was like, "This is a really good game."
That one I
know?
have. I do not have Tower of Doom. I think it's a little pricier, maybe. Not a lot. Intellivision's pretty cheap to collect for.
Yeah, so there's a lot of games that I view it more like I find new games I appreciate. Because I've never been a fanboy. I've never been like, Sega's cool, Nintendo stinks. I've never been one. I've been a fan of video games since I can remember. Like
Yeah,
I
same
told you,
here.
I found an Atari Pong unit at a garage sale, and I was like, you know what? It's simple, but I appreciate it. And so I used to play Tiger handheld LCD games.
Same here.
So if
I got a ton of those still.
If you can enjoy those, you can find enjoyment in just about any game.
Yep, I collect that junk too, and like some of the I don't even know what you'd call them. Like any 70s electronic, I love like the tabletop arcades and stuff like that. I have a lot of stuff like that too that I have on collection down there. It's on another wall. But yeah, like anything from late 70s, early 80s electronics wise, love all of it. Buttons, lights, you name it.
Yeah.
Just a huge fan of that junk.
Absolutely. And we're a dying breed because because like I had this handheld game. It was a Spider-Man game. It used a 9-volt battery. It had 2 little Spider-Man heads on the sides with numbers going up to 10 or something. And what it was is you held a button down and this little red light went through all these holes. And when you let go, wherever it stopped, you would move your Spider-Man up or down. It was supposed to be for 2 players. So basically it was just a game of chance. So like you'd go up three notches or whatever. All it was a red light going around and stopping next to something. And I enjoyed that as a kid. Even though I didn't have anyone to play with it. I just do it myself. This thing was probably, I'm going to guess it's late 70s, early 80s is when this was. And I don't have it anymore. But, you know, it reminds me of like those old Coleco games that you were, like the football, you were just a red dash.
Yeah, the little blips.
You know, going to get little blips, yeah. So I could appreciate that. And that's going to be a lost art for all but the diehards in the near future. You know, it's just like, it's like a lot of us nowadays, we don't talk about radio dramas. And those used to be huge because, you know, we have movies and visuals. And a lot of people don't even like black and white movies anymore. They won't even give it the time of day. And that's just the nature of the media beast.
Well, thankfully the internet exists so people can chronicle all these things. You know,
yeah.
So that's one of the pluses. There's always going to be an audience for almost anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
So go ahead.
So you want to talk Amico before we end? Because you brought it up. And
I know you started with it, and then as it went on, you started seeing what's going on. I just posted a picture real quick. There's some of my 70s,
your
70s collection. Yeah, cool. I love junk like that. But anyway, Amico. There's some things I wanted to discuss. I mean, I already know your stance on it. You've made that quite clear over the past while. But like, it's one of those things where I have the feeling. Well, I mean, I'm pretty sure that they had great intentions in the beginning, but over the course of like 1 year, I would say it turned to we need to get money for other reasons now, like to cover our butts. So that's what I think happened. Go ahead.
It's an interesting thought exercise because there's a camp when it comes to the Amico. So as of right now, it looks like it ain't coming out.
No, I would put money on it not coming out.
And there was a time where I would put money that it would come out.
Yep.
Because 1, all the money involved. 2, all the egos involved.
Yes.
I didn't view Tommy Talarico as a guy who would ever fail. Like he has too much pride to say he's going to do something and not do it.
And then not do it, yeah.
Right, you know, because he's done his little video games live tour. He's done other stuff. He's produced stuff, okay? Not a system, but he's produced stuff. So, I don't know. There is a camp that believes it was a scam from day one. And
I don't think that.
And there's a camp that says, there's a camp that will say that it's not a scam at all, even to this day. And I will say this. It's not always black and white. We like things black and white. It's not always as clear. What I'll say is this, is I believe that there was intentions to produce the Intellivision Amico. But I believe that they did some dishonest things in the meantime in advertising it that could be qualified as a scam, where they could actually get in legal trouble if someone took the time to look into them who had the authority to do so. So, you know, I still think it's interesting. You look at Tommy Talarico. He's big into The Secret. Are you familiar with The Secret at all? I don't claim to be.
I know it's is it a book or a movie or?
It was a book. It turned into a movie, but it's kind of like
it's about how to dupe the masses, basically, or something. Is that what it is?
Well, basically, what it is like it's like the power of positive thinking.
Other people will be drawn to it.
Yeah, it's like, well, because he actually talked about it on an interview. It's basically speaking that good things are going to happen to you, no matter what, and believing that good things will happen and having positive thoughts, and they will happen. The universe will respond. That's kind of, and by the way, I'm a guy that I actually believe in positive thinking and being a positive person. I believe that positive things are more likely to happen to positive people, even though negative things happen, and that negative things are more likely to happen to a negative person and positive. And that there's science to prove it, right? Like the placebo.
Well, surrounding yourself with nothing but negativity, you're of course going to breed more.
Right, and if you had two twins raised separately, one in a negative household, one in a positive, I'd place money that the one in the positive household made more of their life.
Of course,
So I'm to that, but he seems to buy into this to the degree where he could say I'm not sure, but I think he could even say, like, yeah, we're going to be successful, we're going to be hugely successful, and he believes it even if there's nothing to base it on other than his positive thoughts.
He's like, good things will come if we just hope and prayer. Like, we make sure this comes to us.
Yeah, if everyone agrees, we're going to do this and don't listen to the other people.
But that's yes men.
Yeah, it is to a degree. It's different because it's a philosophy, like I said.
Well, the people around him who didn't say, hey, you also need some know-how when dealing with something of this magnitude.
Well, that's the thing, is there's a thought that there were some people, it's all rumor, but there's belief that there were people who said, Tommy, we have to rethink this thing. And that him being removed as CEO may not have been his choice.
No, I've heard from a couple of sources that it was not his choice. Like, of course he's going to play it off like it was, but it's not.
And his name's still attached to it, so he's still going to rah it, So, yeah, it's... by the way, I found that Spider-Man game. It's called Spider-Man Rescue, and I'll post a picture.
Yeah, I want to see that. I want to see what it looks like.
That you can... Let me see how I can do this.
Because I couldn't see it. I was coming up with a bunch of 90s stuff. I typed 70s just in case, or 80s, and I didn't see anything pop up.
So here it is. Let's see if I'll send it.
Oh, yeah. You move a little slider up.
Yep.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's a picture one I found off.
Yeah, I love stuff like that.
Bandai made that according to the eBay thing. So I don't know what year it says. Let me see. 1980. So okay. I was pretty much right on the ball.
Yeah, right on.
So
what I compare things. Okay, so let's not say Nobuo Uematsu's too famous. Koji Kondo's too famous. So, like, do you know who Grant Kirkhope is or David Wise?
David Wise rings a bell, but I don't know.
He's a composer who made, like, Battletoads music. He did a lot of Rare stuff. He made, like, Donkey Kong Country, the soundtracks for those. Yes. So he's great work. Everybody loves him, but not everybody who's a gamer knows who he is. So it's a great comparison. Right. If suddenly David Wise was just like, I'm going to make a video game system, you'd think people would be like, you don't... What do you mean? You don't know how to do that. Like, I don't understand where Tommy Talarico's ego let him believe that he could do this huge thing. It's confusing to me.
I'll say, I've a lot of people, I'm not the first to say this, I don't know who is, but I used the Homer's car analogy before. If you remember, there's an episode of The Simpsons where Homer's brother runs a car company, and he lets Homer build a car.
Actually, Season 2, yeah.
And Homer just adds all these things to it where it becomes... It's not fiscally responsible. You can't do it. You doomed it. You went too crazy with the design. And I kind of think that's what happened to a degree, is that because I think, look at Playdate came out. Who made the Playdate?
Yeah.
Nobody knows.
Nobody
knows. Who made the Evercade?
Who knows?
Nobody knows. I mean, who made the NES Mini, the classic? People don't know.
Whoever, designers up there.
So if a person has enough money and hires the right people, they can make a system, right?
Yeah.
The problem was, did they have the right design and did they hire the right people, and were they trying to do too much?
Yeah.
For what it was. So that's the question, because he would brag about how many years experience they had in the gaming industry. That didn't equate to making a system. That made making video games.
Yes.
And they weren't becoming a publisher. Who's the person who has the experience making the systems? And especially doing a grand thing as wireless touchscreen controllers, which is, still relatively high tech.
Yeah,
I mean, Nintendo abandoned it. Nintendo tried it with the Wii U and said, no, we're not doing it anymore.
It didn't really add anything to the games. So
right. So, and I will argue that was a mistake because I don't think the technology for what they were trying to do is there.
No.
I will say that it added to the cost. And not only that, I do believe I got a lot of flack for this. I still do. I once I saw it, I couldn't unsee it because someone said, "Hey, look, it's lag." And I think there's a communication problem with that because when you have a wireless controller, there's going to be a moment of lag.
Oh yeah.
Even if it's not discernible between the time you press it versus a hardware controller will have less lag
because it's
than
the
a
speed of
wireless
light.
one.
Like it's a wire, and it's with a controller in your hand and a wire. That's as fast as it gets.
So now, add on to that wireless controller a touchscreen. Because now you press the touchscreen has to communicate with the rest of the controller, which now has to communicate with the system. It's now another
it's like a
layer.
3-step process.
And when I watched videos when they used the touchscreen, there seemed to be a delay. And they wanted to use that touchscreen so bad. I'm like, for some things, like a card game, that's perfect. You don't need, it can be a little laggy. Select your card, right? Which card you're going to do.
Yep.
But if you're talking about a game where you're like Finnegan Fox,
where
they
you're
use
jumping,
the touchscreen, the jumping to do, and I'm like, that might.
That's
going
to be awful. Well. Yeah, if that has lag on it.
So at the beginning, when I heard about it, I heard about, hey, we can now put the overlays from the original games right on the screen. That was a cool idea because I had the Nintendo DS Intellivision Lives collection, and it did that, and it worked pretty well. Now, that's not wireless, but I liked the idea. I was like, that's a cool idea. But they never did show those classic games. They never did. So,
no, and in the past year or two, there's been absolutely no footage of Cloudy Mountain. There's been nothing of Night Stalker, like the games people would care about. Just
and
they're just gone.
The thing that's really confusing is why is there just no new footage? Period.
Yeah, I mean, obviously they haven't been paying people.
Yeah, they recycled it. One theory is this, and again, these are just theories.
Yeah.
One theory is this, is that they would hire these other developers, to make the games, which, kind of goes with what they were saying. They would hire them, but when they came back, but here's the deal, was the system ever completely finished? The final firmware and everything finished? Because they were just making it, to certain specs.
Yeah.
In some cases, these developers didn't have a development unit, if you will. So they send it back to Intellivision for the final touches. Now Intellivision is backlogged. They have all these games that the developers sent, and they're still possibly working on the system or trying. In a recent interview a few months ago, Phil Adams said that they were working on reducing the system's UI footprint.
Yeah, I remember that.
To make games like Toe Jam and Earl, which was announced at the very beginning, able to run on their system. What does that tell you?
Yeah, they're still not there.
I did one video where I showed how Cornhole, one of their games, this was I didn't discover it. Someone on the Intellivision Amico subreddit discovered it, but I did a video that showed what Cornhole looked like in one video, and then their latest unboxing video, how the graphics took a step down.
Yeah, they had to turn it all down to low, everything, the trees disappeared and turned to flat objects and stuff.
Yeah, and I'm like, what's going on?
Well,
so there's a lot to this story. There is a lot that we don't know, but
I can't wait to hear the full story. If it ever just is canceled and eventually the NDAs run out, can't wait to hear what actually went on behind the curtain.
Yes. Yep, and
it's going to be a fascinating listen.
I have a strong suspicion you'll hear that stuff in a couple years. It's going to be a while.
There's no way anybody's going to keep quiet about it forever.
Well, there's too much money involved too.
Yeah.
Well, we may hear something sooner, but the amount of $18 million and nothing to show for it.
That's not just peanuts. That's a major problem. Well, my main problem with the whole thing is the dishonesty of. They knew 100% in their, they had to have, that it wasn't coming, and they still took the pre-orders. Then the next year, they knew it wasn't coming, because, if you don't have your firmware and stuff, it's not coming, and they're still saying, oh yeah, it's coming. That's what I don't like. At least be honest. Be like, we don't know when it's coming, we're trying. Don't keep giving these dates and hoping people are going to send you cash. Dishonesty is no good.
You want me to lay it out for you why this bothers me?
Yeah.
About this or prove to your listeners the dishonesty. I understand other companies have had problems where they've had to delay multiple times. Look at Duke Nukem Forever, right?
Oh yeah.
Things happen. But it's one thing when it happens to like a little independent, like Duke Nukem Forever. No one was losing money. There weren't investors or people didn't even have pre-orders. Usually,
People hanging on the wire.
Right. I mean, if they had a pre-order, it was with like Electronic Boutique or GameStop, and they could just get their money back. Right. This is a case where the company has taken investors' money and the company has taken pre-orders from customers. June 25th, 2018, Tommy Talarico said, "You'll never hear me announce the date of when the consoles come out."
I remember that.
Okay, that was way early on. October 22nd, 2018, that's when they said the launch date's going to be 10/20/20. August 5th, 2020, now the launch date's going to be April 15th, 2021. February 17th, 2021, now the launch date's going to be October 20th, 2021.
Yeah, they moved to the next year.
August 7th, 2021, they sent out an email where they said their goal is to get the system out by the end of 2020.
I remember, and some people were like, Christmas would be great. And it's like, nobody said Christmas.
Exactly. Then, and by the way, starting now, they never really admitted that they weren't going to do it. They would just give a new goal. Like for the launch dates, they did, but then eventually they would not even acknowledge that they missed it. They would just give another goal.
Yeah, so they would kick the can another few feet down the road.
November 2021, their FAQ on their site says their goal is the Q1 of 2022. They don't even tell their email people.
No.
November 23rd, 2021, they hope to have a ship date goal given by the end of the year. They hope to tell people when it will ship. Not that they'll get it, the thing that they were waiting for at the end of the year. January 10th, Republic investors were asking questions. They said, we expect to give a ship date now in 30 days or so from January 10th. February 6th, Phil Adam is on a live stream. The ship date will be given now to the middle to the end of February. February 10th, 4 days later, he says now it's going to be the end of February, maybe March 1st.
Yeah.
Of course, they never gave it.
And then that's pretty much where we're hanging now, isn't it?
No, because there's two more. April 8th, 2022, their pre-order FAQ goal lists the end of 2022. And then May 11th, 2022, recently, John Alvarado was in a live stream chat of an Amico thing, and he says, I forecast that the quiet period will end by the end of this month. That is right now as we speak.
Yeah, we're literally in the last day of the month.
You're recording this on the last day. According to my clock, I'm in the Eastern time zone. I believe you are too. The end of the month is happening in 13 minutes.
Yes. And I haven't heard anything from Alvarado yet.
That is a list of 12 dates.
That they missed?
Given. That they said that either they gave an email or someone from them. Because, to me, it doesn't matter if it came on official letterhead or not. When you are a representative of the company, or if it's an email to your consumers, they trust you. And 12 times now, they've said that they were going to do something and they didn't.
And you know for a fact, in like a couple of days, one of them's going to put out a statement, be like, hey, sorry we missed, the end of this month, but we'll have a more solid thing for you at the end of this month. Like they're going to do it again. Something
I don't know that the end's coming at some point.
Yeah.
Someone who's been following this, he says they've lost a lot of employees. They're basically a skeleton crew now.
Yeah. I mean, it's the thing that's no fun is we're never going to see a fiery explosion. It's just going to be a quiet fizzle.
Yeah. Well, and you know what? I'm the kind of guy I've said in some of my videos, prove me wrong in television.
Yes.
Prove me wrong. I want to be proved wrong. I want this to be worth the money. I have friends who are excited about this. I want them to get their system and be happy with it.
Isn't it kind of funny that we haven't even seen like pretty much a screenshot of Bomb Squad?
Well, they showed some of it.
Well, we don't know anything about it.
They showed a little video clip of it, but that's the thing is every game it's just been like 30-second snippets or 60-second snippets, and people. I've talked to people. There have been live events and people have played the games and they like the games, and that's fine. That's cool. That's totally cool. But what we haven't seen is a retail system.
Yeah.
Because you don't know what's under the hood of those systems. You don't know if it has extra memory, if that's the final board. You don't know if they can get the chips anymore.
Did you hear that, like, the people who created biplanes and Lunar Lander, what's it called? Moon Patrol, that they don't exist anymore and didn't exist when, like, the Crayola event was going on. They were still showing their games off. They closed their studio.
Yeah, there's some studios that went through liquidation or whatever, and whether
And like
those
they're
people
selling
are still,
their physical products of the games for a company that doesn't exist anymore. Like, is that even ethical at that point?
I don't think it's ethical. I think let's talk about what's ethical. Okay, so I don't think I forget. I don't have it in front of me. It's on a piece of paper somewhere or on a Word document. But they told the investors in a video. This was 2 years ago. That this was when the Fig campaign was going on. There's a video, and Tommy said the rocket ship has been built. It is on the launch pad.
Ready
It's
to go.
Ready to go. That to me was unethical.
Yeah.
Because clearly the system wasn't ready to go.
And he's saying this to get investors, that was a lie.
That to me is a lie, because any average person, if you say, I'm making a system, the rocket ship's built, it's on the launch pad, that means all you need to do is manufacture and get that out.
Yeah.
You're done, and that is not the case.
But to him, being on the launch pad was having the idea of the system in his head.
Which to me goes back to the secret. Because I thought it's already done.
Just will it into existence with positive vibes.
Exactly. So in his head, he might not be thinking it is a lie. To him, it's not a lie.
Because his intention is to make it what he wants it to be, but
to the average investor, that's not what they're hearing. They're hearing the work's been done.
Yep.
And that to me bothered me. That to me bothered me a lot. They had an investor appear in one of their videos.
I've
Tony
seen
the
that.
Geek Getaway was the first to point it out. I made a video on it. I said, "Hey, Intellivision." This was at the time where I was still giving them a lot of the benefit of the doubt, a lot. And by
but
the
it
way,
was starting to skew a little after all this.
And by the way, not everyone at Intellivision was a bad person. I'm not saying that. I'm talking about the leadership making decisions on how to present things.
Yeah, this starts at the top down.
Yeah, this came out on it was after the Crayola event. They're like, "Hey, this person is an investor that's given a testimony telling that everyone should go out and buy an Intellivision Amico as soon as it comes out."
Which is an FTC violation.
It goes against FTC guidelines, and that person needs to disclose that they're an investor, not because they're portrayed as just someone who just wandered in, a mom or something who thinks that I tried it and it's awesome, you should buy it, just based on not. They need to tell I could make some money if you buy it,
Yeah.
And when I made a video about that, and by the way, Nick Richards in an interview pretty much said that they had interns collecting all the information on what's being said about the Amico on YouTube, that they would get reports. And he actually said, I know this person. He named some people he knew, like I've heard of Ninja Kitty. I've heard of this person before,
Yeah.
So when Tony published it, who was definitely in Intellivision's eyesight, and I made a video about it, and all they had to do was go to their video description and put in the description, one person is an investor who appears in this video.
It takes
That's
a
all
second.
they had to do. Or you can edit YouTube videos. You can cut stuff out of them once they're posted. They could have cut out just her testimonial. And when they didn't do that, I was like, what are you thinking?
Well, to me,
There's such an easy out.
the bigger red flag in my book wasn't just the fact that they had an investor. Not every, but I would say 80% of the people who you see talking positively, like, oh yeah, I loved it, they're wearing Intellivision or Amico swag. So I'm just like, okay, if you're supposed to be a completely anonymous person, why are you wearing Intellivision stuff to the Boomers event? Like those kind of things.
Yeah, that obviously that's picked.
Those were plants.
Or even their super fans, because I mean, if someone, listen, I'm not a Intellivision super fan, but I could see myself
you have the whole
at some point in
collection.
my life.
Don't lie.
I could, if I have the whole collection, but I'm like, but at the same time, just because it's Intellivision doesn't. If it stinks, I'll say it stinks.
Yeah,
I think that's the difference. A super fan is someone who's like they can do no wrong, right?
Yep.
But if I went to a football game and I wore my team's jersey, so I could see myself, I guess, in the right circumstance, going to an event and being excited. And if the Intellivision event came near me and I could get away from the kids long enough to go, I would have went, or even taken some of the kids with me. I would have been hesitant because I don't want my kids seen on video. I wouldn't have signed a disclosure, but I would have tried it out, but I couldn't. I would have gladly tried it out if
A
I
little
had
far
the
from us, but
opportunity.
yeah.
Yeah, but
But yeah, it's
far
one of those
from a
things
lot
where
people.
like the whole point of that Boomers video was to show anonymous people, not people who were warned that Intellivision's going to be there. So the fact that they all had Intellivision stuff on was like, okay, where's the normal people, not your super fans?
Yeah, and yeah, you're right. I mean, it doesn't look good. And I talked to this with some in television at the time. They were really pro Amico, and I said, this company has an optics problem.
Yeah,
A lot of the stuff they do just looks bad or cheap or it doesn't look good, and a lot of them agreed. A lot of them, yeah, it doesn't look good. It doesn't look good when the last event they had was pretty much run by their fans. Yeah, and not them, and it didn't look professional. It just looked like systems being put on card tables, And it's like, I thought you were a multi-million
yeah. It
dollar
looks like
company.
they just did it in the backyard, like in their neighbor's house or something. Just hey, let's grab the card tables and just throw some TVs on there.
So the question that I think the question that needs to be, well, the question I'd be most interested in answering is, at what point did they realize this was not going to be a reality? And what was their plan? Was their plan to string people along as they could to keep drawing six-figure salaries, or were they generally trying to get that $1 million invest or
That's a good
multi-billion-dollar investor?
Who knows at this point?
Because with someone like with the positive thinking, there might have been a genuine like, oh, we could still do it, even though reality said they couldn't.
Yeah,
Because the secret doesn't base itself on reality.
well, there's another aspect of it that I want to discuss. If you got another minute or two here, like some stuff that always bothered me since the very beginning of the Amico stuff, when it started to look like, okay, what's going on here to me. I almost lost my train of thought there. Do you remember how Tommy would always, like, in comments or in video form even, be like, just let me talk to you in person, or let me talk to you so I can tell you what, to really show you what it's all about and stuff like that. It's like, why do I need... You should be able to say, why wouldn't you, if speaking to you personally is what's going to sell people on this, why don't you put a video out of those things so that everyone is with you? So my question is, when he would, because I know he's like, do you remember that video that exists of him asking Pat and Ian to talk for an hour or whatever?
Mm-hmm.
What could he possibly say in private that can't be said in public to get people on your side? And to me, is there NDAs and money changing hands to these people who he talks in private?
Okay,
that I don't know, but
I'll share you my theory on that. First of all, it's interesting. Tommy used to comment in some of my videos early on. He never reached out to me privately, though. He commented in some of my videos until I complained about the price increase. Not even complained. I just said, I don't know if this is a good idea.
I'm surprised he didn't contact you.
He didn't. No. I have theories why, but they're just theories. I don't know. And so I know he's, I think Tommy, from what I get from talking to people who he's befriended, is a very charming guy. He is a guy that he thinks he's a rock star. Okay? You've seen him perform at video games live. And there's a celebrity aura to him for some people. And I think he's used that on people who are susceptible to that. And they've just like, oh, wow. And he thinks, like, if he could just talk to someone, they'll see his way. They'll see the light. If he could just tell them.
But for them to champion for him forever, it must be a heck of a conversation. Like,
but you got to remember, a lot of the people who've done this, they are they're just regular YouTubers.
Regular Joes like us, like smaller channels.
For the most part. Yeah, smaller channels for the most part. And to have a video game person say, someone who's been involved in some of your favorite games, because listen, he has taken credit for more than he should, in my opinion.
Oh, for sure.
Like Metro. But I'm also going to say he's done a lot. He has done a lot.
He's done some soundtracks I am a fan of.
So I'm not going to say like everything he's done. Like, he's done some good work.
Yeah, he deserves credit for the stuff he's done, for sure.
So if you are a video game super fan, you're a fan of retro games and you have a channel, and someone from the industry who has some name recognition says, hey, can I call you? Can I talk to you? and starts shooting the breeze with you and being your friend, you can get starstruck. And all of a sudden, it changes the psychology of the situation. And all of a sudden, now you want to fight for this person, not because it's, they're in the wrong, but because they're your friend and you're going to defend your friend.
Do you think that was his angle from the beginning? Let's get the smaller channels on our side. Let's spread the news.
I think they were obviously they were trying to do a grassroots campaign by using YouTubers.
Mm-hmm.
I think without a doubt. I'm not saying it's a bad idea. I've had it hasn't happened to me a lot, but I had a couple people say, "Hey, can I send you a game and you let me know what you think of it?" And I'm flattered. And I do that. And I've done that a couple times, and I say in my video, this was provided to me by them. Right? That's a very rare occasion, but it's happened once or twice. It's happened a couple times. So I think but I haven't had anyone say, "Can I have your cell phone number?"
Oh yeah, that's going to be on the line.
And I think that's what happened was it's borderline unethical.
Yeah.
And I'm afraid.
Hey, let's be pals. Let's be chums.
Yeah. And I think some of these people, they'll find out after a couple of years they won't hear from Tommy anymore. Like, he might put it up for a while, but they won't. I think he did. Even if Tommy's not aware of it, I do think he used some people. Even if he thought he was being friendly, or whatever. But I do think there was a plan to use YouTubers as a grassroots movement.
Do you think he didn't think that he could change your mind, or like what reason do you think he didn't contact you?
I think that might be a possibility.
You're right in the sphere of like the people that he would talk to.
Yeah. I think maybe there was something about me where he knew he couldn't win me over like the others, but that's just my speculation. It could have just been
obviously
he didn't
we
get
don't
around
know
to me.
like what's going on.
But I don't know, and I'm fine either way.
Yeah, but it would have been fascinating if you did get approached. It'd be cool story.
I would interview him tomorrow if he was open to it. I would. But I would do it because
I know you would do a fair one. You wouldn't just be like, "Oh boy, Tommy." Stars in your eyes.
Because there's things about this Amico and stuff that I'm learning that I wasn't right about.
Yeah.
And once I get the information, I will. And if I'm able to, I'll say, hey, you know what? This part I wasn't right about. I will admit, because I did a lot of speculation. It's fun. I mean, we speculate. That's what people on YouTube do. They look at stories and they give their 2 cents.
Well, the whole reason we're talking about this at all is because it's a fascinating story, isn't it?
It is the most fascinating story that I've ever seen. It is more fascinating than the retro VGS /
Yeah, like that used to be the king, and now it's like this has taken so many twists, turns, and this is what the Calico Chameleon would have become, I think, if it were to go further.
Yeah, and it's going to end up being bigger than the Calico Chameleon.
Bigger names behind it.
The names behind it, based on how much time, because the Calico Chameleon didn't last as long.
And $18 million of wasted money.
Right, and the fact that it did 4 crowdfunding campaigns. Who's ever done 4 crowdfunding campaigns for anything? Yeah.
The thing to me that's going to stand out the most that I wonder if this, let's just say tomorrow, Intellivision's like, it's not happening. We're sorry. There's no money to give back. We're sorry. We're closing up shop.
Let me stop you. Let me stop you right there. I could be wrong, and I don't have any sources. I don't think that's going to happen.
No.
I think they're just going to quietly close up shop in the dark. There won't ever be that final announcement.
But let's just say, either way, let's say they disappear in the night, or they say they're gone. The thing that I think is the most sort of like, not poetic, but interesting and or maybe saddest, is this whole thing was started because Tommy Talarico absolutely loves the Intellivision, but now its legacy is going to be forever tarnished by this. So instead of lifting it up, he has absolutely stomped on it.
Yes, and I'll be honest, my heart goes out to him.
Yeah.
I don't agree. I think he's been dishonest, but I put myself in his shoes, and I honestly don't think he's like, hey, how can I lie to people today?
No.
I think it's just, I think he almost buys into his own lies.
He got in too deep, but he won't admit that he got in too deep. Too proud.
I do, and listen, every one of us has faults. Every one of us. So I'm not saying he shouldn't be held accountable, and I'm not saying that if he ends up in legal troubles that it shouldn't play forth. I mean, there's money involved. There's lots of money, and he said some things. But just the basis of You had a chance to buy your favorite video game company and bring it and resurrect it.
Yeah.
That's like that's like a retro gamer's dream, right? You know,
Yep.
like, oh, I'd love to bring back the Vectrex.
But then
I'd
when
love
you
to bring
bury
back
it
the
and stomp
TurboGrafx.
on it,
But then when you end up, killing it or making it worse off,
yeah.
my heart goes out for him.
The Evercade and stuff like that are still going to keep the legacy going, stuff like that. So
Yeah, but here's the deal: who's going to own the Intellivision name next?
who knows?
And what's going to happen? Because let me ask you, what's going on with the Vectrex games?
Yeah, I don't know.
Who owns them? I mean, nothing's going on. So
is there a holding company for like GCE or whatever? What is it? I forget who made those. Like General Consumer.
I do remember that there was like an app with Vectrex games, but for the most part, you didn't hear them out.
No,
you didn't see the stuff going on. There's video games we all can mention that have never been spoken of in decades because the rights went to somebody who didn't care.
Like I think Hudson bought by Konami or something. It's like, oh great, there goes those.
And they did the TurboGrafx 16 Mini on a very small scale, and it was cool. But outside that, if you're a TurboGrafx fan, you're probably wishing there was a whole lot more out there.
Yeah, like it'd be cool to see an Evercade version of that in TurboGrafx games.
Yeah, so it could be that right now we have it. Right now we've been, blessed, if you will. If you're an Intellivision fan, you've had in the Intellivision Lives collections, you've had the Flashback, you've had plug and plays, and the Evercade's going to have 2 collections, but there's a possibility that someone else is going to buy it and they won't care about it as much.
Hopefully somebody who is part of this group, like preservationists, any of those people.
Hopefully someone who cares buys it if it gets there, but it is,
Well, here's the thing.
Like
Tommy was a person who cared, and it was mishandled, so it's like, who knows?
Right, because you also have to have the skill. That's where the question was this a scam or was it horribly mismanaged? And I'd say, well, I think it got mismanaged and there were some scammy things that happened.
Yeah, it got mismanaged into a very dishonest situation.
The fact that you have people who were told they could get a refund at any time and they've been waiting weeks and they're getting no communication at all.
Did you ever put a down payment down?
Nope.
Okay.
Nope. And you know what's interesting? I was going to when the price was originally $180.
Yeah.
I was going to.
It's $350 now.
And then as I covered this more, I was like, man, maybe I should pre-order one just so I can cover it because I still thought it was going to come out, even though I didn't think it was going to succeed. So I thought about emailing them about being put on the founders list, especially when people were dropping out left and right. I'm like, well, maybe I could see if I could get a founders list. But then the SEC documentation came out, and at that point, I started telling people, you need to pull your money out.
Well, now it's like, is anything going to even be released before they close up shop? That's the question now. Not like, what's it going to be like? No, is anything ever going to happen?
How can they?
Yeah.
Anyone who says that they're going to, how can they? I don't even know. I don't know the logistics. I've never put a video game system together.
They're not easy.
Is the board even finalized? Is all the firmware finalized? Could they even hand assemble it if they had to? Because they don't have the money to manufacture them.
No.
Because manufacturing is expensive, especially something like that. You can't just do a small run of 100
You have to have massive
Amicos.
runs, or else you waste money.
And do they even have the chips and the parts for it? I understand there's people who think, well, they'll get out a few pre-orders. I don't think that's happening. I don't see how. Tell me how.
Why, anyway? Why would they bother with a few pre-orders?
Well, there's some legal ramifications. With
I remember, part of the Republic deal.
Where they said they are Republic and Fig and Republic are now like one and the same.
Yeah.
Where they owe 100 systems, but I don't think they could even.
You can't just put together 100 and call it done, though.
No, well they could, but I don't think it's going to happen.
No, they'd have to do it in house with off-the-shelf parts.
But can they even do that?
No. Is there even anybody left in the company who would want to do that?
Well, obviously, some of the higher ups would want to do it.
Is it just a room full of old dudes who just want to get paid now before they claim bankruptcy? What's left?
And it's not just this, but this is going to destroy their legacy.
Oh yeah.
Who's going to want to touch Tommy Talarico or Phil Adam or John Alvarado after this?
I wonder if it's going to get to the point where if Tommy does what are those called? Games Live? Like if people are going to start booing.
I don't. The thing is, that's the thing about this system, is it's such a small story in the grand scheme of things.
But
And I
to
think
people
most,
in the weird
'cause,
corners of the internet like us, it's fascinating.
yeah, to us it's fascinating. I think the average person going to Video Games Live doesn't even know who Tommy Talarico really is,
Yeah, he thinks they do.
and he thinks they do, and he's happy to play his guitar in front of them, and more power to him. You know, I have no problem with that. You do that
Because
You
that's
do
not a
you,
lie.
But and there's been, I've heard people say he's just airplane, like he's not even really connected. I don't know. I don't know. I've heard that. That's just.
I play guitar, so I could look and see if he does. I never
So
saw it.
I would love to hear your, like, look up Video Games Live and him playing guitar, and
Yeah.
let me know if you think he's not lip syncing, but with his hands.
Air guitarring, yeah.
But I
faking
do
it.
believe he has musical talent, obviously.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I don't.
The guy
I don't
can
doubt that
compose
he
at the
can-
very least.
So and honestly, I don't begrudge people when they do it, because I've even told my wife. I said, like, when we watch like the Thanksgiving parades, I go, that all that stuff that they're just lip syncing it
Yeah, they're pretending.
in the parade, because you'd have all this wind blowing on the microphone, and you'd have all this weird noise, and it's too clean. So
Yeah,
they
sometimes
do
it's
that-
actually beneficial for the show if it's fake.
Right. So, that's part of the music presentation sometimes, is faking it, right? So
Yeah.
so I'm not gonna, that's not a hill I'm gonna die.
It's not the end of the world. That's not the most egregious thing. It's fine.
So I think the people going to the concerts, most of them don't even realize it.
No.
I don't. So
And hey, the
I think
people in
it's-
the orchestra are all doing it for real, so who cares?
Yeah. So I think he could still do Video Games Live. But as far as doing stuff in the, like, working on games or anything like this,
Oh no, that's done.
maybe there's some company that'll hire them quietly to work on stuff. But
Well, that's like Mike Kennedy. His name was done in this
yeah,
retro game sphere.
yeah, and Mike Kennedy, the whole Coleco Chameleon Mike Kennedy thing, it's a very interesting comparison, because I believe Mike Kennedy genuinely wanted to bring out the
Yeah,
retro
and he just
VGS.
didn't
I
have the
believe-
chops, so he was hoping he could just string
And
people along until it happened.
Yeah, and I believe what happened was, it's like, oh, we have this thing coming up. Well, let's just put something together, just fake it, but we'll bring it out.
We'll get it
They
someday,
cut
yeah.
corners. And I think the same thing that happened to Intellivision, where, like, oh man, this ain't going to happen. Well, let's just kick the can down the road and give another release date.
Yeah.
And it ends up biting you in the rear. And I think that's what happened. Instead of just coming out and being honest.
Well, the
People are
road
so
to heck is
forgiving.
paved with good intentions.
Yeah,
That's,
people are so forgiving if you're honest. If you had just came out and said, you know what, we have to delay this indefinitely. I don't know if we'll ever be able to pick it, do this. Please accept. We're going to refund all the pre-orders. If they can come out, we'll have. If they did something like that, people would have. That's integrity.
Yeah, people
You
would
know?
respect them more. It maybe not
Right.
be happy, but like, okay, finally you're being upfront.
Yeah, people would like, or even if they said, hey, this is what happened before the pandemic. We thought, and they kind of did this, but not really, because
No.
it didn't make sense why the price increased so much. Because at the time they did the price increase, that's before everything really inflated.
That's
was
for
early on.
loans, I think. That they're so deep in debt that the price increase was like a must.
And I think the last price they gave was the last attempt, where the last thing they said was something like $330 with two
Yeah,
controllers, or
$340.
or $290 with one, or something like that.
Yep, $290 and
I think-
$340.
I think that was the real price. Like, this is what we need to be profitable.
Ugh.
And I think they purposely let anyone pre-order it without money, so that they could look good to an investor, because they
Yep.
desperately need an investor. And I don't think they got the investor.
But at this point, I think enough word of mouth has traveled around. I'm pretty sure any investors are probably pulling out too at this point.
All it takes is one.
Yeah, that's true.
There's rich people with money to burn. All it takes is one. But I think
well,
most
they ain't
people
getting that back.
But most people who have that much money are smart enough to look into things
Yeah.
before they drop them.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't say all, that's for sure. But
Most of them are.
Yeah.
Most.
well, how I don't know why I didn't ask this way earlier. How often do you post? Do you do an everyday video? How many videos do you put out?
A lot more than maybe I should.
But you're not daily, right?
It's been harder. It's been harder lately. Just life's been busy this past year, so I've actually gotten to live streaming more, just as a way to do content because I realized, hey, I got the stuff to do it. So sometimes I'll live stream at night because I'm tired and
Yeah.
I like to unwind
Well,
with
do you
games
do
anyway,
like
so
weekly?
but I
Several
usually
times a week?
post on multiple videos a week. The thing that I need to get back into is my actual proper reviews, which those have not been every week lately just because of life and how busy I've been.
My main content is hard, it takes time, and I you gotta put it out,
those 10-minute reviews take hours and hours to put together.
How long do you usually play a game? Like, you play it fully, right, before you even start?
I try to play it until I feel like I got it. I understand it. Usually to a point where I feel like I hit some games, especially on the Atari 2600, you can hit your ceiling and you just realize, like, if I dedicated my life to it, I could get better, but unless I dedicated an obscene amount of time, I'm not going to get much better than this.
I remember Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, you go.
I was just going to say, I remember rapping the score on Yar's Revenge. I used to love that.
Yeah, well, and like I did the Pitfall thing, and that's my like little mini claim. That's one of my things, but I couldn't wrap this. I couldn't do the Yar's Revenge thing. That's beyond my skill set. So yeah, I try to put out. I mean, I have. Oh my goodness. Let me see. So on my channel, I've done everything. I'm not doing it the smart way, because the smart way would be do less and be very focused. But there's so much stuff I like to talk about. Like, I've put out videos on Hot Wheels I like.
Well, if you enjoy doing it, do it. That's my thing.
Yeah. So as far as just trying to win the algorithm, I don't bow to the algorithm. So I have videos on like toys, retro toys. I have videos on different stuff, unboxings. I do like those little subscription boxes.
I was looking a little deeper into your channel. I saw your biggest video is that Pac-Man thing with like 4.5 million views on it.
I don't know how.
It just exploded.
I don't know how that exploded.
It's such a jump.
It's so it's got almost 5 million views, and my next highest one has 100,000.
Yeah, that's why I was like, it's such a leap. You really hit some chord with that one.
I don't know why YouTube liked that one so much, or people watched it, and I feel like an idiot because I forgot one of the ghosts' name when I did the video. Like,
I think I remember watching. You did get Clyde right. He's the orange one.
Yeah, I think it was Blinky or something. I forgot the ghost. And like, so when you have a video that has 5 million views, guess how many people are reminding you you missed that one.
Yeah. I mean, some people will never leave you alone about stuff. So it's fine.
Overall, I'm happy with the video. I'm happy with how it came out. I was just like, man, I missed that one fact, and I forgot to say what year it was from. Like, this is an old toy, not a modern toy. Like, I don't think I even said that, so I put that like in the description or something, or in a pinned comment. But yeah, I don't know why that video blew up.
I was looking at it, I'm like, whoo! I don't have one that's 5 mil. That's a giant one.
Yeah, so I was blessed by that.
It was just the right combination of the thumbnail, the subject matter, the length of the video, like all those just came together.
Yeah, everything came together, but my numbered episodes, I'm at 752.
Woo!
And nowadays, those are reserved for video game reviews.
Yeah.
Where I'm actually going to go through and tell you what the game's worth. I'm going to tell you my opinions on it. I'm going to tell you how to play the game. I'm going to tell you where it ranks. That's because I used to do every video numbered. Even if, like, one of my early videos, I was like, hey, look at this cool Miss Piggy McDonald's
I didn't know you
glass
numbered those.
At the beginning, I did. At the very beginning, for like the first 50 or so, I numbered everything. And at the beginning, I ranked every game against every game I reviewed, no matter what system.
Yeah, I know you split them up after a while, which is a good thing to do.
So I split it up. But so, like, I also post gameplay videos because some of my viewers just like the gameplay without hearing me yak. So I'll throw them up there, and some of those have done well. Some people don't like that. Oh, well, don't watch it then,
Yeah.
So I do a little bit of everything, but I have, let's see, does it say, let me search, because it's over 1,000 videos I've made.
Over 1,000 what?
Over 1,000 videos I've made.
Oh, wow. Yeah, you can see, I can see how many videos you've made at any time.
Over 2,000 videos. So
that is so many. Yeah, 2,251 uploads. That is a lot.
Yeah. So but that's 8 years of work.
Yeah.
So yes, I do. You usually get multiple videos a week. I am trying to get the game. I just posted the game review today of the Evercade and Intellivision Collection 1. I'm working on a review of. I'll let you know now. I'm trying to get Solaris reviewed.
Yeah.
So it's actually, so I want to explain.
Well, that's a
how
really
the game
late
works.
release too. That's like 88 or 9, isn't it?
I think it has a copyright year of 86. It probably
Oh,
came out
okay,
a
never mind.
little
I knew it was
later
a real
than that.
late one.
Yeah, so but it came out around after the Tramiel era. Those red
Yes.
boxes are all from Tramiel. So it was an attempt, but it's really impressive. It's amazing.
Oh yeah, they knew what they were doing
some
with the
of the
hardware
games.
at that point.
Yes. Yes. So yeah, that's yeah. I try to get stuff out all the time, and I'm doing a lot of live streams now, and I got a good little community now of
Yeah.
people who just show up. I like names I recognize. Is like, hey, look, it's Norberto. You know, I see these people like they just come to my live streams and they hang out, and so I'm
Do you
like,
know
hey, that's cool.
Do you know 8-Bit Show and Tell?
I think I've heard of him. I don't.
He's another guy
I'm
whose
sorry.
channel I like. He does a lot of programming stuff though. He's from Canada. I'm trying
Yeah,
to
I mean, there's other stuff I like to watch sometimes too. I've been getting into Sega Lord X lately.
I think I've seen some of their stuff.
Like a lot of he focuses on Sega a lot.
Well,
Obviously.
yeah.
So I'm a dying breed. There's not too many people who just review games.
Yeah,
one at a
or do
time.
it like actually truthfully.
Yeah,
Like
that
do it for
take the time
silly
to
value
actually
or
do
something.
it.
You don't do them silly.
And I try to also record off of real hardware. So it doesn't always look as clean as other
Yeah,
videos
same
because I'm
here.
not using emulation because I just like to do that when I can. I don't call me weird and quirky. So I mean,
No, I
if
think it's the best way to do it.
I like to do it that way. So yeah, that's kind of like what I've been up to lately on my YouTube channel.
Well, as long as everything's going well for you and your family and everybody involved
Mm-hmm.
in your channel. No complaints?
No complaints. I mean, you could always complain, man.
Yeah.
I
I can always
choose-
find a reason, but
I could choose not to. No, life's good, man. I'm happy.
it's good. Always
with
good
my
to hear.
family.
That's what matters the most.
Yeah, and this is just my outlet. This is not my entire life.
No, yeah, I have a
just like-
full-time job. I have all kinds of stuff I do, so this is just what I do for the heck of it.
Yep. Yeah, I do make a little money off of it. Not a lot. It's hard to make money on YouTube, everybody.
Yeah.
It is really hard. But it's enough to help pay for the groceries, which nowadays is a big deal.
Yep.
You know, and so this also started too. This was, I told my wife, I was like, I think I could make a little money off of this. Doing this. This was me convincing her to, let me invest in like a microphone and stuff like that. By the way, if anyone's looking into getting into YouTube or podcasting, invest in a microphone first.
Oh, yeah.
So definitely recommend it. But yeah, this is I said I think I could make a little money, and I've made a little money. Listen, I can't live off of this. I can't live off of even Patreon, all that stuff. But you know what? It helps buy the games and stuff that I review sometimes, and it helps pay for groceries. And if I wasn't doing this, I may have had to get a part-time job somewhere else doing something that I don't enjoy. And when I was a kid, I always wanted to become a reviewer for not Game Informer, for Electronic Gaming Monthly.
Yeah, your
And
favorite
now
mag.
I get it. Now I kind of get to do that. Now I get to be
It's a
video
form
game
of it.
reviewer. It's a form of it, and some people respect my opinion, which is nice. I'm just another guy. I'm just a guy who's played a lot of video games like everyone else who's listening to this, but I've done this for a few years, and people appreciate it, and I appreciate them.
Well, that's why I like your channel, because you don't put nonsense in it. You're just like, here's what I think of this game, and all the facts that you can. There's another channel that I respect for that, is Hungry Gorilla. She's been doing it for a little while.
Yeah, does role-playing games, right?
Yeah, she does a lot of like Master System and role-playing games and stuff like that. No, they're just no nonsense. Just, hey, I played this game from front to back, and this is what I thought of it. I like those kind of reviews.
Well, I appreciate it. Like I said, we're a dying breed. What I should be doing is playing Roblox all day long. Or,
Yeah, that would make the cash.
Or I should be doing skits nonstop. But that's just not me.
No, that's where you start getting into the territory of like, you're not even doing what you want to do.
Right. Well, some people like to do that, but that's not me.
Your family supports your gaming stuff, right? I know your wife.
Yeah.
I've heard you say on your show, your wife's not into it, but
No.
they support you, right?
No, they support me. And honestly, none of my family. One of my kids is getting into like mobile gaming a little bit,
Uh-huh.
and one of my kids likes Roblox. So they all kind of like games, but they don't like console games. They don't want to sit down and play Nintendo. We've played sometimes as a family. We'll play a little bit of Wii, like we'll play Monopoly or Wheel of Fortune together when we want to do a family activity. But we'll play board games more than that. And I
got a
never
ton of those,
push
too.
gaming. I never push gaming on my kids. I never was like, okay, as soon as my kid's old enough, I'm putting a controller in his
Oh
hand.
no, yeah. I mean, if they
I love
want
my
to,
ki-
that's great. But
I let my kids find my own interests. So really, I'm the only hardcore gamer in the house,
yep.
especially when it comes to these retro style games.
Do they ever make fun of you? Like, Dad, you're such a dork.
No, no, not. They make fun of me, but not for liking games.
I'm sure I could
So-
be embarrassing to my kid once in a while just because.
But you know what? The truth is they don't see me playing the games a lot because I usually wait till everyone's in bed.
That's true. It is like, it's like 10, 11, whatever. But it's summer
And
now,
it's-
so the kids aren't in school.
Yeah, but they still have a bedtime.
Okay.
We raised our kids right. And they're young enough too.
I was going
where,
to say, mine's a teenager, so it's, late teenager. So I don't have that much control anymore.
the late teenagers. But I have one who's an early teen, but we still, for their health, we encourage
it's a good idea.
and we encourage them to go to bed at a certain time and to get a good night's sleep. And sometimes they're up late in their room, but it's been a good habit for them to get into is learning how to go to bed.
Well,
Learning how to
structure
have a
in
set.
life is always a positive thing.
Yeah, it's really good, and it's sorely lacking in a lot of kids' lives.
Yeah.
And it's not easy to do. If it was easy, everyone would do it. But
It can be tough to
structure for-
enforce.
I'm the kind of person that I would say, if you like retro games, that's great. Don't force it on your kids. If they end up liking it, great. If they end up liking Nintendo, that's great. But be a parent first. Be a parent first.
Yep, no, don't shove your opinions on anybody else anyway, in general.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm very general with and you know what? You can't change people's opinions unless they want to hear it. So that's the thing, is you can only speak into people's lives who let you speak into them.
Of course. Well, this all these types of things, the things we do is our outlet to just see if people agree with us or not. So it's like, why not?
Yeah, and that, you know what? I have the most respect. There's people I met talking about the Amico who said, you know what? I'm a fan of it. I appreciate your coverage, though, because you're just being real. You're not trying to just rag on it. And those are the kind of people I respect.
Well, yeah, people who are like, I don't agree with you, but let's have a discussion about it.
I think that's what's missing in this world today, is
Yeah.
the ability to disagree and not go toxic or go crazy or bonkers. Like, how can you not think that way?
Like social media just creates echo chambers, so it doesn't allow rational discussion.
Right. So
And that
it's
is
cool.
yeah, I'm under that very big opinion too, that just disagreement is lacking today. It's okay to disagree with each other.
Yeah, and not think that you're the worst person in the world.
But
So-
we're taught, our kids, I guess, seem like they're taught on the internet to vilify those without their opinion.
So you want to hear about my hero that has nothing to do with video games?
Yeah, go ahead.
Let me make sure I get his name right, because I think it's
Oh,
Daryl.
you don't even know the guy's name or person's name? Okay.
Yeah, I got it correctly. Well, see,
Is it a
I have-
foreign name?
no, it's so the guy's name is Daryl Davis.
Okay.
He is like one of my heroes. He's my heroes. So he's black. He's African American,
Uh-huh.
and he decided that he is going to talk. He decided that he was going to reach out to Ku Klux Klan members, and he was going to actually listen to them and talk to them
And try to
befriend them,
understand, at least.
and try to listen to them, and try and not talk and share his opinion until he felt like they would be listening to him.
Huh.
And so his idea was, I disagree with these people 100%, but I'm going to treat them like human beings, and I'm going to talk to them, and I'm going to listen to them. And he did this, and he invited them over to his house for dinner, and he gave them a ride when they needed a ride, and he even defended them when they were being accused of something that they didn't do wrong. Like, he's like, I disagree with these people, but what you're accusing them, they didn't do. So I'm going to defend them and stand up for them. This man now has a collection of Klansmen robes in his home of men who have renounced the KKK.
Well, yeah, when you
because of it,
humanize
because-
somebody, you're much more, it's when you dehumanize the people you don't agree with that there's a problem.
Right, and I'm like, if you really believe in your message, whatever it is, your message is, whether it's the Amico or anything else, be willing to hear and humanize the other side and not call them names,
Yeah.
and talk to them. And you won't win everybody over,
But yeah, that
I
guy has a lot of
appreciate-
guts too doing that.
But
So
but yeah, obviously. Like I don't know if I was in his shoes if I would be as bold as he is to actually do that, because I know that I've heard of the death threats and all that stuff. But the ability to say I 100% disagree with you and I'm going to treat you like a human and befriend you
let's talk about this
because
yeah.
you're a person. That's the kind of thing I try to take with me, and that's why when I talk to the about the Intellivision Amico, I try to be understanding of everybody involved.
It's a good message.
I've gotten mocked for it sometimes, and I'm not perfect. I'm not perfect, and I made mistakes, and sometimes some things make me scratch my head, and I'm like, how could that person's acting like a knucklehead? How could they be doing that?
Yeah.
But you know what? I don't block people. You know, when it came to the conversation, unless they were just clearly trolling, right?
Well, yeah,
you
if
know,
somebody's just being obvious.
If they're just trying to troll or they're trying to spam or whatever, you know, then you have to kind of block those people. But I'm all about conversations, and that's what I try to do with the Amico, is have conversations even with people I disagreed with. And
well, all the discussions bring multiple truths, sides of the story, like perspectives, opinions, like all that comes to light, and it's very interesting.
Yeah, and by the way, I'm not comparing those people with the KKK.
No. I didn't. I know the analogy. You're just saying that philosophy.
I'm not putting them on the same level, so I'm not saying.
No, I didn't make that assumption. Don't worry. But somebody in the audience might have. So.
Right, but what I'm saying is this: is learning how to listen to people we disagree with is a lost art, and it's one of the ugly sides of the retro gaming community. And it's happened since we were kids, because there are people who would make fun of you because of what system you had or what game you had.
Well, I mean, obviously, it goes a lot further than the gaming community too, but
right, and it's in every
as a microcosm,
life, right?
Yes.
But it's the community we're in, so it's the community we have a voice in. So that's what I say is like, hey, let's listen to each other and not just diss each other because of our opinions. You know, let if a person likes ET on the 2600, let them like ET. If they like tax avoiders, let them like tax avoiders. If they like Amico, let them like the Amico.
Another important point is that, like, it's cool to have disagreements because the world would be boring without them.
Absolutely. I used to say that all the time, and when people disagreed with my opinion on a game, I'm like, hey, that's cool. It would be boring if we all agreed. It'd be boring if everyone agreed with my top 10 list or my rankings. There'd
be no point in listening to anybody's opinion if they're all the same.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So, yep, that's my deepness. That's something I don't usually talk about, because when I'm on my show, I just stick to the facts, because I try to stay away from drama. I really do. I'm not a drama channel, but I have covered drama, if not for the sake of drama, because it's interesting, because it's a retro gaming story.
Well, I gotta say, I did not expect to hear the word KKK during the podcast today.
It wasn't on my notes to bring up, but
no, I totally understand the why, though. It makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it's like,
be the person who reaches out. Don't be the person who closes off.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why with the Amico, I would talk to Tommy Talarico. I'd listen to what he has to say, and maybe there's some things I'm wrong about. Maybe there is. There's just a lot of stuff that's making my smoke detector go off.
Yeah. And it'd be hard I would have to take everything he says with a bit of a grain of salt, just because we know the history too.
Yeah, it's like, and you know, there's probably things behind the scenes we don't know.
Oh yeah, tons.
And it's easy to have an idea of something until you hear the other side, and then sometimes you get challenged on certain aspects. Again, there's clearly things wrong. They're holding people's money. Well, they probably don't have it, but they didn't give refunds that they should have held on to, put in escrow. And there's things they told to investors, and they probably could get in legal trouble. And there's probably some really gross stuff that's happened.
Could be.
Absolutely. But it doesn't mean everybody is bad that's been involved in the project, you know, especially some of the people who are not in the upper management. And there might be some reasonable reasons why some of the stuff happened that weren't, you know, we all have private things. That
there could be amazingly valid reasons for all of this to have happened, but it doesn't change the fact that it does happen, and there has to be some accountability for it.
Yeah, exactly. Like there may have been good intentions, but like you said, you know, good intentions can lead to the wrong places there, you know, and
correct.
there could have been clear deception where people were lying and they knew they were lying.
And that's the point where I start, you know, that's where you start turning your head, be like, I don't like that. Once it starts getting deceitful.
Yep, and
No
so
thanks.
when it comes to something like the Amico, I try to take everything just one thing at a time and not just be like, well, they did bad over here, so this has to be bad too. I try to be fair with every single thing and give
Well,
it
I
all
am
its
looking
proper.
forward to the next bit of news. I'm looking forward to seeing the next video about it, just to see what the heck is the next twist.
Yeah, I think it's coming to an end.
It's coming in a few days, maybe. Alvarado will say like what he was gonna say. Who knows?
Or you just don't hear from him again.
Yeah, I mean,
Like,
I there's a big part of me thinks that it's just gonna kind of just go away.
Yeah, I think that's what's going to happen too. Is they're just going to close up shop and
Yeah.
people won't even know. There won't be an announcement. They will
Weird.
have moved on to other things, and they won't even say anything, and they'll just declare bankruptcy or whatever, and there'll be a note that says someone bought Intellivision or something. I don't know.
Interesting. Well, I mean, it's been a fun ride though while it lasted.
Yeah, it's been interesting.
It's very interesting. And but yeah, I don't want to keep all your time. Is there anything else you'd like to discuss?
No, you got the Daryl Davis out of me, so that's about
So
as
that's
deep
how
as
you
I
know
go.
it's coming to the end of the line. But yeah, it's been about 2 hours. I know this is the end of your night, isn't it?
Yeah, I'll be going to bed after this.
Have you? I guess. Have you played any of the Shadowgate Uninvited? Have you played those? Okay,
Yeah.
that's what I do. Just so you know, my indie games are like
Oh, cool.
a cross between Shadowgate Uninvited and like with action elements in it, where you do some fighting. So that's what I do.
Oh.
Since you have no idea who the heck I am,
No,
but yeah, I'm on Steam.
and my apologies. When people contact me and I don't know them, I don't have time to do.
Oh
A
no,
bunch
I
of
don't
research
expect you to
sometimes,
look
so-
me up or anything like that. It's fine. But also, have you played Jumpman or Wizard, like Junior Jumpman?
I have heard of it. I don't have a lot of experience.
Okay,
I
that's
think I
right. You
played
didn't do
it for-
ColecoVision.
Well,
Never
and
mind.
I also have an
That's-
Atari. I think I have it for the Atari 400 or 800. I
Oh,
think
Atari
the
400. It's
Jumpman's
not all.
on-
You probably don't plug that in too often.
I like my 800 XL. It's a really nice thing, but I just have so much time and space, and right now
Yeah,
I'm
I have the
looking over
XE and the 800, I think, but I don't have a 400. But yeah,
Like,
that's what I do. So I just figured I'd let you know. But yeah, I mean,
do
any
you
final
do-
notes? Anything you'd like to say?
No, thanks for having me on.
Oh yeah, of course, absolutely love. I mean, you seem like somebody who could talk for a long time. So I'm
I
a chatterbox.
ramble.
But
It
yeah,
is a
I
blessing
will.
and a curse.
What's that? Blessing and curse?
Yeah, I ramble. It can be a good thing and bad thing.
Well, I mean, when somebody shares the same interests as you, it's easy to keep going,
right, and that's the thing is I encourage conversations,
and especially
I
when there's like 40 years of history to pull from. So it's like,
absolutely.
but yeah, I want to thank the No Swear Gamer for coming on. Great talk. Always love hearing from people in the gaming sphere or the non-gaming sphere. And check out his channel. Please subscribe to him. The guy definitely deserves way more subscribers. So keep him going. And I hope you enjoy the rest of 2022 and beyond. And I'm looking forward to your next Amico coverage and all your other stuff, obviously.
Yes, thank you very much.
Of course. All right. I will see you guys later. Stopping the stream now.